Sacred Symbols, a PlayStation podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support our show, go to colinslaststand.com. Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to Sacred Symbols, a PlayStation podcast. This is episode 113. My name is Colin Moriarty. I'm joined as always by Chris War Games Raygun. Chris, how are you today?
Same old, honestly. It's getting to that point where it feels like every week feels like a really long year. You know?
It's like you're on a planet further away from the sun, taking longer to go around the star, therefore the year is prolonged.
Yes.
As it were, yeah.
Precisely.
Totally understand what you're saying. I called you War Games because we use Zencaster to talk to each other. We actually don't record on it, but it just is a low latency way for us to record or to talk to each other. And Chris got all of these error messages, and it looks like the 1983 Matthew Broderick hit, War Games.
Yeah.
It's like pass, failed, warning.
It's crazy. It looks like it looks like a city is like about to be like wiped away.
It's good stuff. So thank you for reminding me of that. I mean, you didn't remind me of it. The situation reminded me of War Games. I don't know if anyone really ever thinks about War Games.
Haven't thought about it in a long time.
Yeah. Great movie, though. Really like that movie a lot. Nuclear War, I believe, is the game they end up trying to play.
Fun.
With each other. It's a good game. So, Chris, Sacred Symbols is our weekly PlayStation podcast. We put it up each and every week. You can get it 3 days early and ad-free on patreon.com/colinslaststand, where 10,000 of you support us. We really appreciate it. You can support us for $1 a month or $2 a month, $5 a month, etc. You get different perks for doing so, including exclusive access to Sacred Symbols Plus, which is our weekly Patreon exclusive podcast, only for patrons of the show. We put up our Ghost of Tsushima spoiler cast and review discussion last week. People weren't nearly as mad about that one as they were about The Last of Us. So that was good.
That's nice.
Yeah, so I never saw people well, that's not true. I mean, it's the internet. I've been on it for a long time, but people were pretty incensed about The Last of Us Part 2 for some reason.
Yeah.
People just didn't. Well, I think a lot of people did like it, but there were a lot of people that did not like those spoiler casts.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why. I feel like we did what we could.
Yeah, I did the best I could. And
is it because we were split?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I just think that people think that neither of us like a lot of these games enough.
Right.
But I don't know how much more praise I can give to the game. As I said, it was my favorite of the year.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But nonetheless, Ghost of Tsushima review discussion, spoiler cast up now for patrons this coming week. I don't know what we're going to do. Maybe we'll do a mailbag. I don't really know. Gamescom's going on right now, so maybe something interesting will come out of there, although I doubt it. All of the Gamescom stuff is already baked into the news that we'll read later on anyway that has been announced so far.
Yeah.
But Blake, he says Giefellers. I don't know what this last name is, but
it can't be Giefellers, right? That just sounds like a fake name.
Yeah, Blake Giefellers. So I kind of like that, but I can't imagine that's really his name. But he says, "Hi friends, please God finish Final Fantasy VII Remake and spoil cast that. Why has no one mentioned this? This is the biggest PS4 exclusive ever, and one we've waited all for ages, and you haven't beaten it yet. Why? All right, Blake. First of all, why has no one mentioned this? I think we've been messaged about this 5,000 times.
Yeah,
since the game came out, so people have mentioned it. Also, I don't know that this is the biggest PS4 exclusive ever or really anywhere close to it, although it's a big game.
Yeah.
I'll give that to you. It's a big game.
It's big, but something being big doesn't inherently mean that it's the biggest PS4 exclusive ever. I think it feels like The Last of Us Part 2, for better or for worse, is that game. Is probably the biggest PS4 exclusive ever.
Definitely.
Especially because Final Fantasy VII Remake is not going to be exclusive forever. It's a timed exclusive.
Right. It'll eventually make its way to Xbox and PC. So hold your horses, Blake. But and of course there's like Spider-Man, God of War, all these games I think sold better than Final Fantasy VII. But maybe I am wrong, but nonetheless, yeah, people have brought this up. And now I make declarations sometimes and I don't always follow through on them because I just kind of say whatever I want.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I say whatever feels right at the time. I'm always meaning it at the moment. It's when when you make like a plans to go out and then 3 days later, you're like, why did I ever make plans to go out? It's kind of like that.
Yeah, in the moment you believe you'll do it. Right. It's not a lie if you believe it.
Correct. Very good. Nice Seinfeld reference. Now, I will say that with this declaration, I do intend on getting this game beaten and a spoiler cast recorded for this. That's my intention. I'm
thinking of jumping into it like now that Ghost of Tsushima is kind of done, and I don't really have anything else that's really meaty to jump into. I think I might as well just go back. I feel like it's also just this kind of game that I don't think I'd have to start it from the beginning again. You know what I mean? I feel like I could probably jump back into where I was and kind of remember everything that happened relatively okay.
I'm hoping that's the case for me as well. I don't know. I think I was on like whatever, chapter 7 maybe or something. So that's like, I don't know. Is that like a third of the way through the game or halfway through the game? I'm not really sure, but I would like to get back to it. I mean, I really liked it. It's just that things came up and it's just things happen, guys. I don't know what you want from me.
That was a weird time. Like that period of time, it feels like every game that came out during those like weeks were really good, but I also just kind of forgot about them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what it is about that particular like time period this year, but like I think like
it was the COVID spring. It was the COVID spring.
Yeah, like I love Doom Eternal. Doom Eternal is probably like my favorite game this year, and I love it. But like I forgot it even came out this year. Like I forgot
it really
that
feels
was
like
even a thing.
Yeah, this year really is just stretching on and on and on and on.
It's
on.
so long. This January feels like it's really long.
Yeah, exactly. And then I've been reading a lot of really what I feel like are accurate takes on Twitter, etc., about how everyone's like assuming, 2020 will be over, 2021 will be better. I doubt it. I mean, I don't think 2021 is going to be any better. It's going to feel like some long nuclear winter, I think.
Yeah.
Where we're just slowly dying, we're shriveling up. And I feel like Final Fantasy VII Remake came out at like peak COVID, where everyone was fucking sick of this shit already, and I think that has something to do with it. A lot of games in the spring definitely got lost because it seemed nice that they were coming out at the time, because it's like, I can't go anywhere and do anything anyway. But then you it gets lost in that malaise.
Yeah, no,
of that
exactly.
Of that era. Yeah,
it's very weird.
Good. All right, well, let's get into the show here. We have a correction I wanted to read before we get into some other inevitable nonsense. Paul Messman wrote into us and said, "Howdy, Colin and Chris. Quick correction and comment on episode 112." By the way, someone had brought up that episode 112. I can't believe I didn't bring this up because I brought up 112, the road on Long Island, but also the band 112. You know, Peaches and Cream and all. They're like an R&B group from the late 90s, early 2000s. Yeah, they were great. You would definitely know them. But people had brought that up too. Like, how didn't that remind you of 112, the band? I'm like, oh yeah, of course they were.
I hate that name.
Yeah, you don't like it?
I don't know, number names for some reason.
So 311, that doesn't do it for you either.
Not as a name, no.
Yeah.
Like no. I just like, what is is there a reason for that band name? Is it like an area code where they grew up or something?
It's they're from Omaha, and it's the Omaha police code for indecent exposure that one of them got arrested for or something like that.
That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. But back in the day, you wouldn't remember this because you're too young, but 311, like when they really became big in the mid 90s, there were these, and this was like the internet was around, but people weren't really using it to look anything up. But there was this like persistent rumor that 311 meant KKK because it's the 11th letter 3 times.
That's so absurd.
It's especially absurd because one of the people in the band is Hispanic, so it doesn't really make any sense from the racial purity point of view.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I don't know why I thought of that. What was I doing here? Oh, yes, Paul Messman. When discussing ways multiplayer could be added to Sony titles, Colin wondered if it could work for co-op to be added to an Until Dawn type of game. Well, Colin, you don't have to wonder because that was a feature in Man of Medan. Having a friend playing as another character simultaneously and having their choices impact my choices in real time was an innovative feature that I'd love to see in more choice-based games. I don't blame you for not knowing because it seems like Supermassive themselves didn't know how to market this feature, and no one else knows about it. I never heard about that, so thank you for the correction.
I have Man of Medan, and I played it a little bit, and I had no inkling that was something that was even in there.
I have it too. I bought it when it came out, I believe, and maybe Namco sent it to Bandai Namco sent it to me, but I don't think so. But I got to get to it because that Little Hope one comes out, or is it already out? I don't think it's already out.
No,
I think
it's
coming
not
out
out
somewhat.
Yet.
Yeah. So the second one in the Dark Pictures anthology from Supermassive So I appreciate the correction, Paul. Travis B wrote in, I do have to say something about this. He says, hey, Kyle, you get your Twitch partnership and then ghost us. We miss your streams. Hope you are able to find the time to stream. I haven't streamed in like over a month. I was really into it for a while. I got to say, Chris, because I enjoy being on there. I'm just so overwhelmed right now.
Yeah,
I'm crippled with it. Crippled with being overwhelmed.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. I haven't streamed in a hot minute for the same reason.
I just feel like if I'm not going to be on when I'm streaming, then what is the point? And I'm just so, I don't know if tired is the right word. I'm really just stressed out. And I need the quiet time right now.
It's just a bit of a funk, I would say. Just kind of a stupid word to use in that context, but for some reason everybody kind of understands what you mean when you say that.
Yeah, that's a really interesting word because it has a lot of different meanings.
Yeah, positive and negative.
Yeah, exactly. Because like, the funk is like, you want a little bit of the funk when you're listening to like music or whatever, but it could also mean like a bad smell or like something that's dirty. So yeah, an interesting and versatile word. But yeah, Travis, I totally hear you. I stream on Twitch. Long Island Viper is my name there. And it is true. I have not even been on once since I got Twitch partnered. And there are people out there that try to get Twitch partnerships for like years. And they're probably like screaming right now because I don't even go on Twitch at all.
You know how I got mine?
How is that?
It was a YouTube glitch. YouTube used to have this integration where like whenever you were live, a little notification or like annotation would pop up on your videos and tell you that tell whoever was watching that, hey, this person's live on Twitch. You can see him right now. And for some reason, that little annotation never shut off. Like it was just always on, even when I was. So I would gain like these absurd amounts of followers like all the time. So Twitch was just like, this must be something.
Awesome. That's great.
It's a complete fluke.
Yeah, I just signed up the old-fashioned way. I was bothering my friend Mary works there, and I was inquiring with her about what I needed to do too because I thought that I needed to do more, but it ended up happening. I don't know if it gets taken away if you don't use it.
No.
I don't know. I'm surprised they partnered me at all because it seems like everyone in the industry hates me. I was inevitably expecting that to happen. It'd be like, no, I don't. It's like when we got the rugs pulled out from under us at PAX. I'm always now anticipating that.
I was annoyed with that only because I didn't get verified because of it. Usually you get verified on Twitter when you have like articles written about you, but I got jack shit.
Yeah, that's no good. The Twitter verification is way more useful than people think too because you're able to split up your mentions into more granular verticals that let you see more stuff. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So
it sounds wonderful.
It is wonderful, and I don't know how I still have no idea how I got my Twitter check mark. I mean, it happened 8 years ago.
Yeah.
I have no idea how it happened, why it happened, when it happened. I know when it happened. It happened at E3 that year.
Oh,
but
good.
I don't know. But otherwise, I was at a food truck and I got an email. That's how I knew that it happened. All right, let's see here. Just a quick note for the audience, Chris, there is a new PS4 firmware 7.55. I don't think it's a mandatory download. I wasn't prompted to download it, so just it's out there if you want to check it out. I'm sure it's just one of those lame ass stability updates, but check it out if you want. I wanted to ask you this. I was going to put this in the news real quick, but I was reading the Bungie.net blog post about Destiny 2, and I have no idea what they were talking about. What's happening with this game? Is there content being removed from the game? People seem to be in some sort of uproarious state based on this, but I don't get what's happening here.
I don't know. I didn't hear anything about any uproarious state, but I do know that older content is being cycled out of the game. They said that publicly, I think, like a while ago.
Yeah, let me see here. Yeah, because I'm pulling up this thing this week at Bungie 820, so this was last week, but they're saying back in June we introduced the concept of the Destiny Content Vault.
Yeah.
And approaching to evolving the game that will allow us to add new content, bring back some of the Destiny's greatest hits, blah, blah, blah. But I guess as part of this, they're getting rid of a bunch of stuff or moving stuff into the so-called DCV. But I'm surprised you didn't see any of this because I've been seeing it seems like that quite a few people are upset about this. I guess because it's somewhat, I don't know. I don't know enough about games as a service really, I guess, but it's somewhat unusual to just remove content, isn't it? Just to just blink it out of existence. I mean,
yeah, it is. It's not normal, and I typically understand the sentiment in a vacuum that, on principle, don't take stuff away from the game. But if your game is 112 gigabytes and 50 of those 112 gigabytes are used on play spaces that nobody visits anymore or aren't interesting or don't have any interesting things happening in them, I don't really see a detriment to getting rid of that stuff. I'd rather have a smaller game with more things to do than a huge game where half of it is kind of useless. Which is kind of the feeling that I have about it. And also, it's like it kind of ties into like the entire narrative thing they have going on where these planets are being invaded and getting wiped the fuck out. I mean, it's kind of neat, honestly. But I get on principle why it would bother some people, but I feel like this is kind of an old thing that got resurfaced, I guess, because we're just encroaching ever closer to the day when all that stuff is going to be nuked out of existence, both literally in the game universe and
and digitally as well.
Yeah, and digitally.
Yeah, it's November 10th is the date that I guess all this stuff starts to happen. I feel like the consoles are coming out November 10th or November 17th. Yeah. Everything seems to point to that.
Yeah,
so
definitely that week. Definitely in that 10 days in mid-November, because it can't be. I feel like 20th or later is far too late for
who knows,
Black
man.
Friday.
I mean, at this point, who knows?
Yeah, but
maybe they'll release the console on like Christmas Eve for 7 people.
They're releasing it on Valentine's Day.
Bunch of assholes. All right. Neo JD wrote in and said, does the rumor of an upgraded Switch next year excite you guys at all? Are you interested in this, Chris? The persistent rumor, I think most recently bubbled up by Bloomberg, says that there'll be an upgraded, more powerful Switch next year in 2021. Does that interest you?
Yeah, I mean, of course, new hardware always interests me. I'm a nerd for that stuff. I like opening up a nice little new box and seeing how they package things and getting that new hardware smell. And sure. I feel like as we go closer and closer to digital games and digital media, and closer to the likelihood that all of our games and media and whatever will probably be on like singular devices, I feel like I'm snuffing out as much of this feeling as I can before it's gone.
For me, I mean, I already own a regular Switch. I'm not going to get a new one. I'm not excited about it from that perspective, but this is a really wise move if true, and I think it is. It's a very wise move on Nintendo's part. It keeps them more relevant in the technological race. It's obviously not going to be a machine that can do what the PS5 or Xbox Series X will be able to do, but the rumors are that it will be able to do 4K and stuff like that. So I don't know. It seems like that's unlikely, but that is what it says.
It would be interesting if they had it would defeat the purpose of the Switch, but I don't think they really care. But if they had like a Switch that was strictly a home console, because they did have a Switch that was strictly a portable unit. With the what was it? The Switch Lite, I think.
Yeah, I think it's called the Switch Lite,
or something. Right? That can't be docked into a TV. It's strictly a handheld, so I don't see why they wouldn't also make another baffling decision and kind of make it into a strictly home machine that is capable of doing the higher end stuff, or running your games at just higher resolutions in general. I think it would be kind of wise, unless they have some weird backpack mechanism where you got to run around with a generator to fuel your 4K existing Switch.
I would love that. That would be awesome.
That'd be insane.
The Bloomberg article says, in part, the specifications of the new machine have yet to be finalized, though. The Kyoto-based company has looked into including more computing power and 4K high-definition graphics. People briefed on the strategy told Bloomberg News, asking not to be identified because it's private. So we'll see. But it's something certainly worth keeping an eye on, and Nintendo needs to do things like that. No, I don't want to say to stay relevant. That would be absurd to say something like that about Nintendo at this point, but just to stay within the third-party conversation, I think would be essential, because when you think about all of the truly huge Switch hits, they're all first-party games with rare exceptions, so it would be cool for you to be able to play like Call of Duty with all the grown-ups. Yeah. If you want to Switch, for instance. But we'll find out if that actually comes out in 2021. All right, let's get into some of these more fun questions here. Michael Doro wrote into us. Said, Chris is a fucking serial killer. The glasses in the shower sealed the deal for me. I've been connecting the dots, and there's just no possible way he isn't, at the very least, a vampire. The baked beans, the lack of preference on personal hygiene products, scoring The Last of Us 2 a 5 out of 10 when it's clearly an 8. Colin, the ball is in your court. Can we throw garlic at him or something just to see what happens? I got to say, so we get like 200 or sometimes a little less, sometimes more inquiries a week for the show. I want to say maybe 10 to 15 of them are about your showering habits. So Michael Doro represents many listeners.
I don't know, man.
This is quite the thing here.
Yeah, I mean, it's not hard, guys. It really isn't that difficult. And also, I'm blind.
Yeah, that's
Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that I feel like, what do they want you to do? I would like you to wear the Clyde Drexel late 80s, early 90s NBA goggles in the shower.
Goggles for the shower?
Yeah, you know, like the athletic goggles that
yeah.
people would wear so that they don't break their glasses or whatever.
Yeah,
I think you should wear something like that.
Prescription goggles?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I'm in such a routine with this where I just know how to deal with it. You know?
I'm much more puzzled by your lack of personal hygiene product preference. I agree with Michael there. That's something that really bothers me a lot more than the glasses in the shower thing. But
well, I mean, like I get sponsored a lot too by a lot of these companies where it's like, oh, hey, you know, try our like face cleanser, or like try our shampoo, or try our like whatever, and it's like, all right, well, like, you know, and I'll use that until it's out, and then I'll just find whatever the hell. I'm just very flexible with that stuff because I'm just curious as to how different things will work. Because it's all, let's face it, dude. Like, if they're selling you soap, it's gonna soap. Like it soaps. It works. It's gonna clean you. They wouldn't sell it if it was like bacon, and you were just like rubbing grease all over you, and like you just break out the next day. Like they're selling you soap at a place that sells soap because it cleans you. You know?
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, that's true. I would imagine.
Yeah.
That's true. You know, there are soaps, though, like Ivory soap that doesn't sud up. See, I've used Ivory soap in the past, which is like the scentless, kind of sophisticated bourgeois soap. And it doesn't feel like it works because it doesn't sud and it doesn't smell like anything. It feels like you're just rubbing a piece of plastic on your body. I don't understand. Not that I'm rubbing it on my body, but in my hands. Because I made it clear, I don't rub the soap on my body like some people do.
I like those black bars of soap. Have you ever used those?
No. What is this?
Oh, man. I can't remember what the
Are you talking about lava soap?
No. I think it's literally called, like, it's literally called African black soap, but I swear it's so good.
African
like, it
black
smells
soap,
amazing, and it's like exfoliating too. It's pretty great.
Oh yeah, look at this.
But it's hilarious because it looks filthy. You know, because it just looks like
yeah, it does.
Like it looks like a brick of like something you'd find in like a coal mine almost.
Yeah, it does look horrifying. It doesn't look, I mean, I don't.
But it's amazing. It's like
you
wild.
Like it?
Yeah, no, it is wild. But but they're not easily acquirable. So like I just haven't got them. Like usually like my parents will gift it to me when I come home, and then that's the only way I'll get my hands on it. So I do have a preference. I just won't go out of my way to like make it so.
I'm on this website right now called Bulk Apothecary, bulkapothecary.com.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at the African black soap for $3.49, 56 reviews, 5-star average. But the pictures of it really just looks like, what it looks like is tobacco.
Yeah.
Squished together really tightly and then wrapped in cellophane.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
I swear though, it's pretty wild.
Chris likes his African black soap. There you go. All right, let's see. What's next? Oh, this is a weird one. Jake Whitaker wrote in. I mean, they're all kind of weird, aren't they? But he says, "Hey, Seamen, I figure I'll keep the ball rolling with the whole bathroom and hygiene conversation if you insist, Jake. What is your guys' opinion on blowing your nose into your hands while you're in the shower? It's the best place to clean the pipes with the hot steam, so I blow my nose into my hands and immediately wash them off every time I shower without thinking twice. Is this normal or do I need to seek help?" I think everyone blows snot rockets in the shower. I mean, I definitely do that. I hawk up loogies. You know, you do all the disgusting stuff you need to do. But why are you blowing it into your hands? I don't understand. This is the thing I don't understand. You're blowing your nose into your hands, and then why wouldn't you just blow it right into the water stream? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Maybe because you're not. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really understand.
Like hold the nostril with a finger and blow.
Maybe it's like
that's
that.
It.
Maybe it's just that child curiosity where it's like I want to see it.
Yeah, well,
that's the only reason I can think of. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't specifically wait to be in the shower to blow my nose, but I don't see anything wrong with that.
All right. Well, I find it a little more peculiar than you do, probably. Although I will say, because you had said like the childlike thing of, you know, you wanting to see it. Whenever I get sick, you know, when you cough up like yellow, green, just gross shit out of your lungs.
No,
you don't cough up phlegm when you get sick?
No.
What? This is getting so weird. I don't even know why we do this show anymore. It's just getting so. Chris has never coughed up phlegm, everyone, in 26 years or whatever.
I have phlegm, but I've never coughed it up because I'm paranoid about like I'm paranoid about what I would see.
What are you talking about? What are you even saying?
I can't point to a specific memory where I've like coughed up anything green. Like I've coughed up like clear like phlegm before, but like never anything like fucking. Never anything that looks like Marvin the Martian, you know, like
interesting.
or like I don't know, like SpongeBob Yellow, you know.
Well, the reason I brought it up was just because I've been sick. I've coughed up all these things, and I just wanted to say that I've admired things. I've actually tried to stop them from going down the drain because I'm like, wow, what is that? You know, that just came out of my body, and you're like, and then I'm like on my hands and knees in the shower trying to stop it from going down the drain. It's just me, I guess, though.
That is a wild thing. Like coughing up green, like what multicolored, like rainbow colored globules of whatever the hell. That's its own thing. That's fine, I guess. But like going on your hands and knees to save it is a different thing entirely. That might just be you.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of things are.
This reminds me of like a friend of mine always finds opportunities like this in conversation to bring up that time Hillary Clinton's like spit up a green egg into a glass of water.
Wait, what?
There's like this clip that Alex Jones shared where he's like, look at like Clinton's giving birth to an alien, and it's like this clip of like her like spitting something into a glass of water.
Oh yeah, I'm watching it now on YouTube here.
It's really stupid. It's really weird, but like.
Yeah, what is this? All right, here she's drinking. What? She takes another drink. Oh yeah, I remember this from the. Oh yeah, she does spit some. What is that?
That's probably one of those things that you would save from the drain.
Oh my god, I've never seen this before because I do remember when she was on the trail, she was like so sickly.
Yeah.
Oh, Hillary. All right. This one I'm excited to hear your take on. Your boy Nicky V wrote in, although I like to think it's Nicky the Fifth.
Oh, nice.
But he says, because he doesn't put a dot after it, so it could be your boy Nicky the Fifth.
Yeah.
He says, hey, silly Chris, did you know you were recently blacklisted by Resetera for being alt-right? How does it feel? Hope you're wearing it as a badge of honor. Yes, that's right, Colin. I spelled honor with a U. British and proud, you cunt.
God.
We know how you already know how we feel about British people, Nicky the Fifth. Now, Chris, I looked this up when I saw this. You are banned on Resetera.
Oh, really?
Did you see that? Did you see this at all?
No, I had no idea. I've never been on Resetera.
Really? Oh,
wait.
God.
So, how did you find? Like, what is? Is there like a thing, like a thread that says like we can't talk about him or something?
Yeah. So you had a thread about one of your. This was made this last weekend. I pulled it up here now. Actually, here I'm going to drop it in the where your cursor is. There it is. And
yeah.
Do you see it?
Mm-hmm.
And it gets to a certain point that everyone's just arguing about you, and then the one of the moderators at the end says, "This doesn't look like the sort of personality we want to platform here." So you're done. You join the ranks of Colin Moriarty.
Oh no!
Banned on Resetera.
I don't know how I'll be able to survive.
So I don't
Isn't
know.
this just worse? NeoGAF?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, it's way worse, NeoGAF. We always thought NeoGAF was like, it couldn't get any worse than NeoGAF.
Yeah.
But it turns out that it can get a lot worse than NeoGAF, is what we've learned from Resetera. And the thing about Resetera, though, is that it's not really the same as NeoGAF, because NeoGAF had like a lot of mainstream developer and publisher support, and like a lot of normal people posted there and stuff. That Resetera does not have that. So like they've scared off. They're so fucking crazy and communist over there that they've scared off even the left wing people in the industry.
This is amazing. I'm surprised that there's somebody who's even allowed on Resetera that would post something about me at all that was positive.
Well, it turned negative real quick.
Oh, of course. Yeah, that's
in that thread.
I mean, I love this.
Well, congratulations in that case. Jimmy Two-Face wrote into us. It's a good mobster name. He says, hi, Court Colin and Cav and Chris. I don't know what that means, by the way. So in case I just said anything potentially, I don't know, horrifying.
Yeah.
Just letting you know. My favorite food of all time is pizza. And 9 out of 10 times, I only ever order a cheese pizza with no extra toppings, which is a subject of controversy amongst my friends. Pizza is perfect with just cheese and tomato sauce, and I rarely see the need to add anything else. What do you guys think? Should I check myself into Arkham Asylum? Chris, how do you feel about just straight cheese pizza? Because I'm actually really fond of cheese pizza as long as it's like a New York style slice. If it's just garbage, then I need as many toppings as possible.
That's kind of the issue here. Like typically like a plain pie is fine. Like there's nothing wrong with a plain pizza pie. Like just cheese, sauce, the generic like, you know, oregano or like whatever like spices that they would normally put on by default or whatever. That's fine. But the fact that he specifies a cheese pizza has me believe that this is not a New York slice, which to me is kind of wild. Like, because anywhere else I need something. Like typically I'll go for pepperoni. You know, maybe I'll like get crazy and add a mushroom or two.
Whoa!
But typically like pepperoni's my default. But anywhere that isn't New York, like I need a lot on it because the cheese pizza plain pies are just not really all that great anywhere else, except for like those few places where like that place by your old place in Santa Monica was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that place. I forget what I was trying to think. Like, what was that place called? Tony's?
No, it was just Joe's.
Joe's, right? Yeah, that place was pretty good. We used to go there. You used to go there more by yourself, but I used to go with you sometimes.
Yeah.
And that place was pretty good. But that was a place where, because pepperoni is like the old standby. Of course, you want pepperoni on your pizza. But I remember growing up on the island, and it was really foreign to get anything on your pizza because you just didn't really need it. It wasn't until I moved to Boston for college that I really started to. The situation started to necessitate toppings because it's like, what do you want here? You want just another sloppy slice of greasy Boston pizza? No.
Yeah.
You need to have something on it. You need to have some onion on it. You need to have some sausage on it, whatever the case might be to just mask whatever the fuck was going on up there.
Yeah. The only pizza I had in Boston was not particularly good.
No, they don't do pizza very well there.
No, but yeah, I don't know. I'm immediately suspicious of anybody who calls it a cheese pizza though. You know, because it's just like, what else would it? It's a plain pie where I come from. It's a plain pizza.
I got into an argument once about calling a pizza a pie with someone in California where they were like, what is a pie? A pie is a dessert. I'm like, we don't get into these kinds of. I'm from the Mecca of pizza. Don't argue with me.
Yeah, you can't. I hate those conversations.
It's like, who calls it a pie? It's like, I've gotten in those conversations about calling like a sub a hero as well, like HERO, which is what we call them in New York.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, who calls it a hero? And I'm like, I don't know, dude. The fucking people that invented the sandwich that where you put meatballs and sausages in it. You dipshit. Wow, I'm angry at the straw man right now.
Pizza gets us really angry.
Yeah, I get really upset about the weirdest things. It's because I'm getting old and senile. I'm definitely senile at this point.
Do you think so?
Definitely. I mean, there's just no doubt. I have very little human interaction except for outside of my family. And I literally have entire conversations with my dog all day. Just talk to the dog.
That could hurt
really deep. Yeah, so it's not looking good over here.
No, certainly not.
I'll tell you that. This has been a wild year, but if you look closely enough, you might say that nature is starting to heal. These waning summer months have been great for reconnecting with loved ones outdoors, while sports have thankfully returned to distract us. It's given us a lot to, smile about. And if you want to improve that smile of yours, then my friends at Candid can help. Candid represents the future of teeth straightening, a service accessible to all via an easy-to-use website, with quality treatment providing a more affordable price than many of their competitors. With Candid, clear aligners are the name of the game. Aligners that you wear while you're out and about, at work, shopping, and hanging around at home. These aren't wire braces, so unless someone is mere inches from your face, which certainly happens from time to time, no doubt, no one will even notice that you're wearing them at all. Of course, orthodontics requires orthodontists, not dentists, and that's Candid's major advantage. Your specialized treatment plan is prescribed and subsequently monitored by licensed orthodontists who specialize in this sort of thing. yet everything is done from the comfort of your own home. It's kind of perfect, actually. Better yet, the orthodontist that prescribed your plan will be monitoring you throughout, so you'll be in the same hands from start to finish. And with an average treatment time of only 6 months, you'll get a straighter smile in no time, though you'll start seeing results within weeks, and for an average cost only 50% of what Invisalign runs. If you want to work towards a new smile, head to Candid's website at candidco.com/sacred. That's candidco.com/SACRED. And use the checkout code SACRED, that's SACRED, to get your risk-free starter kit and a cool $75 off your order. You could be mere months away from that smile you've long dreamed of. So again, go to candidco.com/sacred and use the checkout code SACRED to begin your orthodontic journey. There's no better time to take the first step than right now. Let's see here. Let's have a pizza follow-up from Joey Mendoza, who said, hey, CNC, is it me or are calzones terrible? I've never had a good, yeah, I know exactly. I've never had a good calzone, and I think they're a pointless menu item. It's essentially a pizza wrapped in crust. Crust is the worst part of the pizza. Why would you add more crust? Just buy a pizza. Thanks for the amazing podcast. Oh, Joey.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Where are these people from?
I don't know.
I've had great calzones. And
calzones are awesome.
The great thing about a calzone is that it's a wrapped pizza.
Yes.
That's like the whole point, is that like, oh, it's a pizza, but it's wrapped. You know those Tostina's pizza rolls? It's the same thing, except actually good.
Right.
So like,
that is correct.
And way bigger. So like, I can't fathom this. Like, there's no way that these people are sane.
No. I would also say that, I mean, I find this offensive because pizza crust is really good if you have a good pizza.
Yeah.
And so, of course, you'd want more pizza crust. Well, I've gone through phases of my life where I've been on real straight up calzone kicks.
Oh,
where
yeah.
I'm just eating calzones on a daily basis.
Same.
And then I do away with the calzone for a little while, and then I go back to the calzone again. I love calzones. I think they're great. Now, would I want a calzone over a pizza? Probably usually not.
Yeah.
But I feel like a calzone has a place, and I've been quite enamored with a number of calzones in my life, in my day.
A calzone is, what it really is like an excuse for you to have as many toppings in a pizza as you possibly can. Because like a normal pizza can only handle so many toppings. Like once you get past like, I think 3 is really like, you're at a point where you're at risk of just like really masking everything that you've done prior, or just like overloading the pizza with just too much garbage. And then like, you know, like the oils and all this stuff from like mushrooms and pepperoni, and like, I don't know, some people put like ranch on their pizzas because they're terrorists.
Oh, yeah, that's fucking horrifying.
And
ranch is horrifying. You
know, the pizza just gets floppy and it can't handle all that weight. With a calzone, it's wrapped, so you can have like all sorts of crazy shit. That's like the only place that I think it's really all that acceptable to go ham with a pizza as far as toppings go, is if it's in a calzone.
Yeah, I'm with you. You're preaching to the choir here about the calzone. I just feel, and obviously that great Seinfeld episode, which is like the analogy for the analogy for the pregnancy, the pro-life debate with the calzone is awesome. I love that episode.
So good.
But yeah, calzones are great. I really highly recommend it because you're right. There is a critical mass in which you can't put any more toppings on a pizza, but that critical mass is never really met. It can't really be met with a calzone. Just by nature, it just can't really be met. So I highly recommend the calzone. I don't understand this argument, Joey. I'm not going to ban you from writing it anymore, but I want to put you on some sort of probationary period because I really want you to be careful. I want you to be a little more deliberate about the questions you're writing in. And sometimes I feel like you guys are just trying to get a little bit under my skin with some of these, especially what I would conceive as anti-Italian verbiage.
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with the calzone? Ugh. It's like, shut up. Shut up, Joey. All right. Elijah De La Rosa wrote into us and said, hey there, Goya, Chris, and Beans on Toast, Colin. My question is it normal to just eat a lime? I usually just cut one in half, pour some salt on it, and squeeze out the juice and eat it. My friends say it's weird, but I mean, it's a fruit. What's the difference between that and an orange? Is there any fruit that's forbidden or strange to just eat raw? Vegetables are a different story. If I see either of you eat an onion like Shrek, I will pull my Patreon support immediately. That's almost as bad as being a commie. I gotta say, I've never seen Shrek. Shrek eats onions? I didn't know that.
I don't know if I think he does. That sounds... I can't remember a specific instance where that happens, but it sounds accurate.
I'm Googling now, does Shrek eat onions? One remembered a scene in the first Shrek movie in which the ogre tells a donkey, there's a lot more to ogres than people
ogres
think.
Have layers ogres like onions.
Yeah,
is what I'm thinking of, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, ogres... I know people who eat onions just like exactly like that.
Like George Costanza when he can't see?
Yeah, like he'll eat it, like they swear by it, but, that's them. I don't know, like this... A lime, I think it's fine to eat a lime, I think. It's a little unusual, but it's not like... I'm not going to be like, whoa, what's this?
Yeah, I think it is a little weird. I don't know. I don't find... I got to be honest with you. I don't find lime that appetizing. It's fine. But I don't feel like lemon is so good. The smell is classic. The taste is classic. Lemonade.
Yeah, I would rather...
Lemon garnish.
I would rather eat a lemon than a lime. But like lime is like really good with things. I feel like I couldn't just eat a lime like I could eat a lemon. I like sour shit though. Like I love sour tastes of like sour candy was like my favorite thing as a kid. Really screwed my teeth up. But yeah, like have you ever squeezed lime juice on a mango before?
No.
Dude, it's just amazing. It just makes the mango taste like a freaking... It makes it taste like candy, just straight up.
Interesting. I thought you were gonna say like something like it's like an amino acid where it like pops to the life or something.
Yeah, it becomes purple and grows eyes.
Now, I will say that in Googling, does Shrek eat onions? It says here on Google, people also ask. So here are the things that people also ask: are ogres like onions? What food does Shrek eat? Why does an onion have layers? Do all onions have layers? What is a female ogre called? And then is an onion a vegetable? So, all right. Well, thank you for that. Final question before we get into the games we're playing here, Chris. Which PlayStation console would be the most useful or powerful as a weapon, asks AJ.
Oh.
I thought this was a really good question, and I think the obvious answer is PS3 Fat.
Yeah.
Because it's the heaviest. But I was wondering what you think about this.
That's where I was going to. It is the heaviest and the bulkiest, and it's like the original Xbox kind of, where like you just drop that thing somewhere and someone's getting hurt. But I think the PS2 is pretty good too, like the fat PS2, because it's just edges, Like it's kind of a sharp console. I'm looking at it right now, and it's got all these ridges, and man, it would be really uncomfortable to be just broadsided and bludgeoned with this.
I feel like you don't want to really be bludgeoned with any of these things. Maybe the PSP would be the best thing to get hit with. It's the lightest.
Unless there's multiple and they're using it like ninja stars.
Right. Or like a sock full of PSPs as well.
Yeah. I think PS3 Fat, though, is probably the obvious answer. It's not a fun answer, but it's because it's just objectively true, I feel like.
I agree. That thing was huge. Just so huge and unnecessary. It's even heavier than it looks, which is not really common. Like lead is heavier than it looks. Yeah. It was almost like that.
I love
where you're picking up like a square of lead and it's like, Jesus Christ, how is this thing so heavy? It was the same thing the first time I picked up a PS3. When you like go to pick up something and it's lighter than you thought it was going to be, and so you just lift it up really quickly. Yeah. And then there are other times where you it was like the exact inverse of that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember playing the PS3 for the first time in 2006 when I was a senior in college. Like some friend of a friend got it, and I was like, damn. I remember I was so disappointed when I was playing. I'm like, this thing kind of sucks. Because my friend had an Xbox 360 that came out the year before, and I was messing around a lot with that beforehand. Yeah, you wouldn't expect me to say that.
I mean, when you come out a year ahead, and that was I would argue like one of those generations where like a lot of the impressive tech was just in how those machines functioned, and like, oh hey, default wireless controllers. Hey, you can connect to the internet. Hey, you can turn your console on from the other side of the room. You can eject your disc while you're sitting down, and like all these like really small quality of life things. So like when you're used to that for a year and something else comes and it does the same thing, it's like, yeah. You're not going to be that impressed by it.
I will say that the remote disc ejection thing was always weird to me because I'm like, you still got to get up.
Yeah, it's still kind of nice though. It was kind of cool at the time.
You're right though, in the sense that just turning on a console, because PS3 and 360 were the first that can really do this. Just turning on a console and not having to do anything with it, like to play a game or whatever, it was so cool. Like you could just navigate it.
Yeah, it was
amazing. Because when you turn on a PS2, it's like you can go to your memory card and the settings, and that's basically it. So
yeah,
and now that my console is basically never off, so it's times have changed. I'm really interested to see how the PS5 handles all of that and what we can do with it. Maybe we can send ourselves to the moon or something like that.
I love the look of that original fat PS3, though. I really like the visual design of that machine. I don't know what it is about it.
It's you like the Spider-Man text because you're a Spider-Man fan. I mean, I think that's
yeah, the default Sony font.
Dude, even when I first saw that logo, I was like, isn't that the Spider-Man? You know, I was 21 or something. I'm like, isn't that the Spider-Man font? And it felt like a joke. I was like, what the hell is going on here?
It was really weird. Like the font is obviously the worst part of it, but I don't know. Like I really like the weird shape. It almost looked. This sounds really disgusting, but it reminds me of like it looked like a piece of alien tech to me, almost, where it looked like this like kind of like a race of alien like roach type people made this machine, and it's just like, oh, what the hell is this? It's like shiny. It's got like an abdomen. It's so weird.
It has an abdomen. It does, I guess. All right, Chris, let's talk about the games we're playing. I don't know that we have much to talk about here because we're playing Ghost of Tsushima. We just did the spoiler cast and review discussion on it. Do you have anything to add that we haven't talked about? I mean, we talked about this game pretty extensively at this point.
Yeah, I feel like we'd just be saying the same stuff. I'm just doing some after story stuff. I'm just sort of cleaning out some camps of Mongols and stealthing around and doing some of the missions that I didn't do my first time around and just seeing what that's all about before I decide on what I'm going to play next, which is likely Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, look at you, man. You're dedicating yourself to these lengthy so-called PS4 exclusives.
Yeah.
Ghost of Tsushima. Again, we did the spoiler cast and review discussion, so go check that out. It's only $1 a month to get those Sacred Symbols Plus episodes. We will eventually make the spoiler cast free as we do for all games. I got to make the spoiler cast for The Last of Us 2 free at some point. I'll do that. Otherwise, I've been playing just Twin Breaker, like I said earlier, which is my game. This is the 4th time I played it through, and I'm just trying to get the Platinum Trophy. I was looking at the trophies last night, and I was like, first of all, I made the trophy, so I don't know how this one snuck up on me. But I was like, fuck, I got to beat all the stages in 24 hours. So now I got to beat the whole game again, but I'm almost there, and I don't know that it's very common that a person is outwitted by his own trophy list, but
yeah,
that's what happened. Not. So, all right, let's get into the news. There's actually quite a bit of interesting stuff this week in the realm of PlayStation, but before we get into all of this, Weston Canamore wrote in with a question of clarity here that I suppose if he has a question about this, then others do it as well. He says, hello, racist Colin and libtard Chris. That's not very nice.
Yeah.
Weston. He says, forgive me for my ignorance, but I've noticed you say ellipsis a lot while quoting people or articles. What the actual fuck does that mean? Please educate it, oh master, my master. Much love. So, Weston, I say, so an ellipsis is 3 dots.
Yeah.
In a row.
It's the ...
Right, exactly. And the ellipsis indicates a severance in a statement that was given or a passage that you're quoting. So you could say like first A, then B, then C, then D. But if B and C aren't really germane to what you're saying, then you would just say A, ellipsis, then D, if that makes any sense. So it's basically a way to represent things that are missing, but doesn't necessarily change the context or the meaning of what you're saying or isn't, again, germane to what you're saying. So when I say ellipsis, when I'm quoting something, it's me basically saying I've taken unimportant stuff out of here. I don't want to make it seem like this is the quote verbatim. That's what that means.
Yeah.
So I hope I don't really need to say that, but I just like to say it just to avoid any confusion about like, well, that wasn't the exact quote. Well, the ellipsis should indicate to you that that's not the exact quote. It's 2 severed passages smashed together, sometimes more. So that's what it means, Weston, and I appreciate you asking.
It's a nice little.
There's no such thing as dumb questions, they say, Chris.
Yeah, it's a nice little English lesson. I do wonder though if he knew how to spell it, why he didn't just Google it.
Yeah, you do wonder that sometimes, right? It's like it's the whole joke of like, let me Google that for you, that website, which I think is really funny, but you probably could have just learned about that, Weston, but you wanted to get read on the show.
Yeah.
I know. I understand. You wanted to get read on the show, and you know how to get to me. You know how to tickle me. Well, it sounded a little disgusting. I don't know if I wanted to say that.
Yeah, let's move on.
All right. Number 1. And a mysterious and frankly frustrating move. Sony has put up its own strange pre-order page for both the standard and digital-centric PlayStation 5 consoles, all without a price or release date. The site, which is only available to American consumers and which was emailed out to some PlayStation users, allows anyone to put in their PlayStation Network ID, which will sign them up for some sort of lottery, by which Sony will choose certain players to pre-order the machine directly from them on a first-come, first-served basis. The website reads, in part, quote, There will be a limited quantity of PS5 consoles available for pre-order, so we will be inviting some of our existing consumers to be one of the first to pre-order one from PlayStation. Pre-order reservations will be taken on a first-come, first-served basis, so once you get an invite email, we encourage you to follow instructions and act fast. End quote. An adjoining FAQ lets people know that if invited, you can pre-order only one console, but you can pre-order up to 2 additional DualSense controllers, 2 charging stations, 2 headsets, 2 media remotes, and 2 cameras. This thing came out of nowhere, but I was so glad that I saw it circulating immediately because I signed up probably within the first half an hour to an hour that it was live. So I don't know if that helps me or not, because they do say in the FAQ, Chris, that this is going to be based on so-called quote unquote PlayStation activities based on the person's PSN ID. I hate this. I think this sucks. And I'm curious what you think about it, because I feel like it's totally exclusionary to people that want to get in and want a surefire way to get this console in their hands. And I don't feel good about this at all. Talk to me.
Yeah, no, I was immediately frustrated when I saw this. Like the idea that they were just sort of like, oh yeah, it's kind of like the we'll call you. You know? That's what it kind of felt like. It was like a PlayStation being like, hey, you want to buy our machine? And I'm like, yeah, I would like that. And they're just like, oh yeah, we'll call you. Leave your name and details. It's like, what? What is this? This is so weird, especially because like this is especially frustrating because we don't know the price. Like, I feel like if we knew the price, this would still be like really frustrating, but at least we would have some idea of what it is we're signing up for, you know? But this can't keep going like this, man. We're in September at this point. Like, you can't keep the lid on this for this long. It's getting ridiculous.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like it's going to happen at any moment now. It has to. And this was something that Julian Santana wrote into us about. He said, hi, CNC, quick question. Will we ever know this next gen console price and release date? This has gone far too long. I totally agree. I think anyone defending or shooing this, poo-pooing this away is crazy. I mean, this is nuts. We're, I don't know, 8 weeks away. I mean, that's nothing. That 8 weeks is nothing. This console has been in development for years. And we're maybe 8 weeks away. Again, I think it's going to be November 10 or November 17th at the latest.
Yeah, so like 10 weeks.
So 10 weeks. It's too, I don't know. And I just think it's weird. Listen, backing up from the whole price and release date thing, which is absurd at this point. We all know that it's been absurd for months. The whole idea of like, here, we're going to send emails out, these weird things, these invites, put in your PSN ID. Then we're going to choose people in some sort of lottery system to get, it's like, how many of these machines have you made? I don't understand what you're doing here. This is just agita inducing, really. It doesn't make any sense why you would want to segment your audience. I understand wanting to reward people for their loyalty, but that's not really a good way to do business, because the people that have PS4 and are happy with it and are really eager to play will buy a PS5 either way. You would think you would want the console available to people that might be bailing out of the Xbox ecosystem or PC, that don't own a console of any kind. You think you would just want this thing to be generally available. And I know it will be quote unquote generally available, but I don't like the idea of just buying from PlayStation, having this in. It just doesn't, I don't know. There's just something about this that doesn't feel right. It feels like the anti-hype, where like it's only like you have to have like some sort of arcane knowledge to get this console. And I just wish that they would just tell us what it costs and just activate the pre-order so we can get the fucking console ordered and get the show on the road already. So the other thing that I was mystified about is I don't think it's strange that you can only buy one console from them. That makes sense. And 2 controllers, I guess, makes sense. So that would be 3 DualSense controllers total, but it's like 2 headsets, 2
cameras?
remotes, 2 cameras. Like, what are you going to need 2 cameras for? I don't know. That's just nitpicky, but that's just a weird one to me too, as well.
Yeah. I don't like anything about this.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't like it either. So we'll see. I don't know. I mean, again, it could be that the next episode will know. I've been saying this for what, 2 months now? 3 months? So
that's what, yeah. I mean, 2 months ago, we would have known if this was just a normal year.
But it isn't. I wonder what they're waiting for. That's the big thing, is I really do wonder, what are they waiting for? There's got to be an answer to that question, or answers to that question. Is it waiting for Microsoft to go? Is it you don't know how. I mean, that can't possibly be that you don't know how much it's going to cost. So I don't understand what they're waiting for unless, as Anthony wrote in, says AC&C with still no date, he says, in price announced for the PS5 and so many good games that will come out this holiday for PS4. Would it be smart for Sony to delay the console launch to 2021? This will allow people to save up money to purchase the console and give developers time to polish their PS5 launch titles. Keep on keeping on. So Sony it's worth noting that yet again, Sony has reiterated that the console's not getting delayed. So I imagine we're out of that window where it can be delayed.
Yeah.
But this whole pre-order thing makes it really feel like there are not going to be many of these things to go around. And I don't understand why you'd want to launch a console when you can't satiate demand in any way, shape, or form, which is what this pre-order thing seems to indicate to me. I don't know if that's going to be true or not, but we'll find out. So it doesn't seem, Anthony, like it's going to be delayed, but I think they should delay the console. I think that the only thing that would hurt for them is that there are probably third-party partners and second-party partners that are, well, maybe not second-party, but third-party partners that are holding on and they need the money from the PS5 games coming out at the time that they were supposed to come out. So waiting like 4 months might really hurt some of these studios. So I imagine that has something to do with it, but I think they should delay it if they can't satiate demand in any meaningful way, because it's, again, also worth noting that website is only available in the US to people in America. So there's not like at least the time we're recording, Chris, there's not a facsimile of that website available in other territories. It is only in America.
Yeah.
So it's just, this is exactly what they did with PS4. Now we're in America, so it doesn't really hurt us as much as it hurts others. But people will remember PS4 came out in the US first and only in the US first. And this was because America is obviously the biggest and richest market that they can sell their console in. But what about Japan? What about Western Europe?
Yeah.
What about the Middle East and Australia and whatever? I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. And it's actually getting really annoying.
Yeah. It's all really frustrating, but I'd imagine that these machines are not going to be delayed. And honestly, like, we don't, maybe I think a lot of the strategy behind that is just like, look, we don't know if this is going to get even worse later on. So if we wait like until spring and then even fewer people have buying power, like what does that do for us? It's kind of, it's kind of a risk, but I'd imagine that they're just trying to get in while they can before things get worse. And if things don't get worse, then, and they start to get better, then it's like, hey, well, our machine's out. And that's a good thing regardless.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there. I think that it's about risk mitigation. There's almost no option that's ideal at this point.
Yeah.
But because they clearly, we read months ago on the show the story about how they were having a problem getting components for the machines. Who knows how many of these machines have been made? They have been made. I mean, I would imagine these machines might even be on boats right now to the United States and other places because it's getting about that time.
Yeah.
We'll sit in some warehouses for a little while, but I don't know, man. I mean, it is getting tense, and I think that people are getting, reasonably nervous about if they're going to be able to get their hands on one of these things, and it seems like it's going to be really competitive, and I am not looking forward to it because I don't want to experience another Wii thing where it's like there are a lot of upset people and a lot of bitterness and all of this, and who knows who's going to get what. I mean, for those who aren't playing games or just don't remember, the Wii was impossible to find for like 2 years. And that was during a decent economy. The economy didn't fall apart until Wii was already able to be found in like, let's say like late 2007 and into 2008. So I don't know. We're going to find out how this all works out, but I don't think the economy is going to be beneficial to this either, unless this machine is somehow much cheaper than we think it is. But I'm still going to say $500 for the console.
I don't think it's going to be cheaper than anybody thinks it is. I'll say that much. If it was going to be, if it was a blowout cheap price that like was something that like everybody could agree that was good, then they would have said something already.
I agree, and I hope it's not too cheap because, and I know that's a weird thing for some people to hear, but I don't want it to be this piece of shit $300 machine. You can't sell a machine like that and make a profit at $300 or $400. Yeah. I want something that's high end. I want a nice machine. So don't make it like, I don't want some garbage, Family Dollar version of a console.
Yeah.
Like it should be, I don't want it to be overly expensive, but I don't need it to like crunch the price and put Sony in precarious waters and all this kind of stuff. It's just sell the console, probably break even on it, and whatever that cost it is. But I think it'll be $500. We'll see what happens. And the only reason Family Dollar's on the mind is because I've been watching so many of the YouTube cringe fight COVID videos, and a lot of them take place in Family Dollar. I got to be honest with you. Walmart, Family Dollar, some Target.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's too many of those.
It is. I'm actually starting to see repeats now, so I've been watching all.
Oh, man. That's the worst.
It's like, man, I've already seen this woman yell at this other woman at a Burger King. All right, let's see here. Number 2. After waiting for literally years as their persistent rumors turn into reality, WB-owned developer Rocksteady has finally revealed its Suicide Squad game called Kill the Justice League, though the initial trailer didn't show any gameplay. Announced at the digital DC Fandom event this past weekend, Rocksteady's Justice League game is still very far away. It won't come out until 2022, and it's skipping PlayStation 4 entirely, coming to PlayStation 5 instead. The trailer shows what appears to be the game's 4 playable characters, Harley Quinn, Deadshot, Captain Boomerang, and King Shark, as they watch the city of Metropolis, Superman's hometown, get torn asunder. Like an increasing number of its contemporaries, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is a game designed around co-op, supporting up to 4 simultaneous players, though you can play by yourself, though AI will control your squad mates if you don't have anyone to play with. The trailer comes on the back of trouble emanating out of Rocksteady in the form of employee turmoil gone public, with a piece in the British newspaper The Guardian seemingly describing an inappropriate working environment, particularly for women, though women still working at the studio have largely refuted these claims. The studio itself released a statement above and beyond the initial statement released solely by many of the studio's female employees, noting that the team is, quote, as passionate as ever about creating an inclusive culture, end quote, and that they are, quote, determined to stand up for our staff and stand firm against any unacceptable behavior, end quote, noting that some previous claims resulted in disciplinary actions, and even firings. Rocksteady, founded in 2004, was purchased by WB Interactive following the release of the 2009 critical and commercial smash hit Batman Arkham Asylum, which put the team on the map. They've since released Arkham City in 2011, which was on PS3, and Arkham Knight in 2015 on PS4, along with a small Batman PSVR experience in 2016. By the time Kill the Justice League comes out, 7 years would have passed between their major releases. I don't know. I don't understand what they've been doing. Because it wasn't so much that the game the trailer didn't have gameplay, which bothered some people. That doesn't bother me so much. But the date, I just couldn't believe it. I am happy that it's a next-gen only game. It's nice to see that. That's what we're going to be moving into in 2021 and 2022 and beyond. So that is great. But it's just confusing how it can take so long to make this game. If you include the Batman VR game, so that's 2016, and let's say they took the rest of that year off, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. It's 6 years. Yeah. So I don't know how to feel about this one, but I'm curious if you're looking forward to it, if it looked interesting to you. A lot of people were getting Sunset Overdrive vibes from it, which was kind of cool, but
yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I did kind of pick up a Sunset Overdrive kind of vibe from it. It's like surprisingly colorful for a Rocksteady game, although I guess we really only have reference to their Batman games, which are always kind of dark and not necessarily dreary, but they're definitely like a little bit more monochromatic than this. And it looks fine as a premise. I don't really know. It's hard to get excited about something when you don't know how it plays, really. So on the face value of it being a Rocksteady game that's a next generation exclusive that has a pretty long development time, I'm interested in it. And I think it could be really cool. But I really don't have anything else to say about it. It was just a cinematic trailer, really. Yeah,
there's not too much to note. I'm sure if you're a DC fan, you'll have a lot of nerdy and interesting things to say about it. It is cool that it is taking place in Metropolis as opposed to Gotham. And I guess Superman rather is a bad guy in the game, or at least that's from your perspective. I guess that would make sense. But it's just kind of peculiar because Arkham City came out in the fall of 2011, Arkham Knight in early 2015, as I recall. So 3.5 years or so gestation for Arkham Knight, which was a next-gen game. That was like a big next-gen project for them at the time, current gen now. It's just, now there was a lot of complaints about Arkham Knight, but I don't think it was anything less than a good game. And so to justify twice as much time on this game, I just find that weird. And I'm wondering if maybe they deserve the benefit of the doubt with COVID and stuff, and maybe also just getting ahead of the curve of knowing that if they announced 2021, they were just going to delay it anyway, which I think a lot of studios do intentionally. I think a lot of, maybe publishers and marketers more than anyone, announce games, announce release dates even before COVID that they knew they weren't going to hit. I think this happens fairly often. And I think internally teams are told to not worry about hitting these dates. So this just might be an honest way for them to say, like, we're behind and we're working in COVID, we're working remotely. It's hard to make games that way. I was reading some interviews about that game and other games about even having problems with people like recording VO and stuff. It's just like there's a lot of things that they can't do right now. And so I don't know. Are you concerned about it taking so long?
No, not really. I think Rocksteady just really hasn't given me much reason to feel like they're incompetent at all. I know there was like a PC version of Arkham Knight that was pretty terrible, but outside of that, like I feel like they're still a good studio, and I feel like this is one of those things where it's like I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, especially given like everything that's going on, new hardware that probably is significantly different than the previous hardware. Like you can still run, it's still similar in architecture, but like the presence of like solid state probably shifts how you would have designed certain things previous, or maybe would have led to like a little bit different design philosophies. I mean, I'm sure you're aware that like the Ratchet and Clank game that they showed just straight up probably wouldn't even be possible.
Right.
Previous tech. So like, it makes sense to me that if they're working on something and they get new tech and they're like, oh, we could do something with this. I'm not that worried about it until I see something that would give me reason to be concerned.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out. Hopefully we see some gameplay of it. Probably not this year, but next year. I think they want to get out of the other WB game, which we're going to talk about now. Number 3. At DC Fandom, another long-rumored game was also revealed, this time with some gameplay. WB Montreal's title, Gotham Knights. Gotham Knights has been actively teased for the better part of a year, and it's likely that the marketing of the game was heavily interrupted by the COVID crisis. As the title suggests, the game takes place in Batman's Gotham City, and like Kill the Justice League, the game has 4 playable characters, though it can only be played solo or in 2-player co-op. The playable characters are Robin, Batgirl, Nightwing, and Red Hood, and perhaps not surprisingly, it takes place in an open world. Unlike Kill the Justice League, Gotham Knights will also be coming to both PS4 and PS5, and will come out around a year earlier, at some point in 2021. The key to remember here, however, is that this game doesn't take place in Rocksteady's universe. WB Montreal has been quiet for a long time. Its last major release was Batman Arkham Origins, which came to PlayStation 3 way back in 2013, and the time between their launches will be even longer than Rocksteady's, coming in at some 8 years between games. So WB Montreal missed an entire generation, basically.
Yeah.
Because their shit took so long. I don't know what is going on at that studio. I was trying to read a little bit. I was like, there must be something I'm missing about what these guys have been doing, but I can't find anything about that. They did some DLC for Arkham Origins, but that was it. So there was an interview I read given by someone where they said that they have 2 games in development. So we might see another game from them in the next year or two, which would be really interesting. But I got to say, we saw gameplay from this, which is great. But just from a thematic standpoint, I'm way more interested in this game. And I'm wondering if you agree. I think this game sounds 10 times cooler than Kill the Justice League.
I don't know. Because it's hard to say because we haven't seen gameplay of Kill the Justice League. So it's not necessarily grounds to compare it quite yet, aside from just like the general consensus that like, oh yeah, you're going to have multiple characters to play as. But I couldn't help but feel kind of underwhelmed with kind of both of these because, Gotham Knights seems to me like, yeah, it looks like an Arkham game and it looks like it's running on new hardware. There's particle effects that look pretty good, but it just sort of looked like the same thing again. And I don't know, like I was waiting for like this moment that kind of would excite me. Like the moment of even something in like Arkham Knight, like when you could summon the Batmobile, which ended up being like probably the worst part of that game. Just something different, but it seems like the only thing that's really different is the fact that there's another person there with you. And I don't really know if it really grabbed me all that much.
Yeah, I think what I really dug about the Gotham Knights trailer was just the ending with the Court of Owls stuff. I don't know anything about the Court of Owls. I'm not a comic book guy. Yeah. I'm pretty open about that, but they just looked really cool. And I was like, wow, this looks... I will say that there are 2 very distinct vibes in these games. And that I can get behind. Yeah, and it really makes you wonder with, the recent sales rumors of WB Interactive getting spun off and interested Activision was interested, EA was interested apparently, and others. It's so weird to see these 2 games and think that WB Interactive was just going to walk away after sitting here for so long, gestating this stuff internally just to sell it at the last moment.
Yeah.
I'm glad almost they didn't do that. And maybe they saw or thought better about it. Because it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Your two biggest studios, or maybe I would say maybe NetherRealm's bigger than WB Montreal, but certainly your biggest studio and another one of your studios have been working on these games forever, and you're going to jettison them at the 11th hour, basically, especially for Gotham Knights. So I'm glad that they're going to see this stuff through, but
yeah,
I don't know. I have a better feeling about Gotham Knights, but again, you're right. We have not seen and probably will not see for a while gameplay of Kill the Justice League. So
the Court of Owls did look really cool, though.
Yeah, I agree, because it just seemed grounded. I mean, that's what I love about Batman, is just like this groundedness, this weird, eerie shit. It's the same thing I always say about Scarecrow and the Nolan stuff, like a guy with a burlap sack over his head. Like, that's awesome. I love that. As opposed to being like some superhuman, weird superpower thing, which is why I'm a little less excited about Kill the Justice League, just because I hate Superman. I just can't stand Superman. I don't.
Well, wouldn't you want to kill him?
I would, but you can't. You shouldn't be able to, because he's Superman.
Yeah.
Right. Like, this is where it gets all weird. Wonder Woman and all this. I don't understand. She's got a whip of some sort, I believe.
Yeah. It's a lasso.
A lasso.
I think. I don't know.
Hashim Mukhtar wrote into us, said, "Hey, Colin and Chris, what do you guys think about both Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad being co-op and possibly games as a service like Avengers? Are you disappointed that they are not straight single-player games like the Arkham games? And will the games suffer visually or performance or gameplay-wise because of this? Personally, I am disappointed, but I'm someone who doesn't like online or co-op games generally. Hope you are having a great day." So my take on this, Chris, is that I was happy and heartened to hear that you can play the games by yourself. They were pretty clear in the Kill the Justice League stuff in the write-ups that the game will play, and I noted this, the game will play as the AI characters for you. So the game is literally made around co-op, and that is a little disappointing, because I feel like that's a little different in spirit than a game like Borderlands or The Division that can be easily played by yourself. I feel like everything else is kind of additive.
Yeah.
In that way, I don't know if I'm interpreting it right, because again, we don't have the gameplay. And it's worth noting that Avengers seemed much more like a game as a service literally than it probably is going to be. It's going to be that, but you can play it and enjoy it solo. But you fall on a different end of the spectrum than I do in terms of co-op games and all of that. But are you disappointed in this at all? Because I can understand people looking at Rocksteady and being like, well, you don't make this kind of game. And that could very well be the reason why it's taking so long, is because it's really not in their wheelhouse. And so they needed to flesh it out more. But are you a little trepidatious about that?
I like co-op games, so I'm not super bummed out about it. But there is something about third-person games, and I don't know what it is about this specifically, but when I'm playing like a game that plays like Batman or Marvel's Spider-Man on PS4 or anything like that, I just sort of prefer to be alone, because The Last of Us is actually a pretty good example. I remember playing The Last of Us for the first time and just being constantly like dragged out of the experience because my AI would just sort of, or Ellie would just sort of walk in front of people, and then they wouldn't spot her, and or like there would be like talking happening, and it's like, what? I'm listening to music. What's happening? What? You're talking? With a game like Arkham Knight or like even some of the older Arkham games, I liked those games a lot because the sense of loneliness was almost kind of cool. The fact that like you were just by yourself and you just sort of were fighting your way through this maze, or making your own way through this city. I feel like that's a little bit more in keeping with the spirit of Batman than fighting alongside Robin, who will most likely have a bunch of one-liners, or Nightwing, who's probably going to be doing the same thing, like, oh, here's a quip, oh, press this button to do a team takedown, when it's like probably not going to be even really necessary to do. Like it feels like it feels like you could beat that game. You could play Arkham Knights, or not Arkham Knights, Gotham Knights by yourself and have a good time. And the co-op being purely like additive is good, but it's also like one of these things where it's like, if it's just something that just sort of can be done and isn't something that you're pushed to do, then why is it even there?
I think it's to capture that market. I think that,
I guess so,
and again, maybe I'm talking about it because we're kind of talking out of our ass, but I'm kind of convincing myself of the different things that could have gone wrong in the development of the game to take so long.
Yeah.
And one of those things might have been like, well, we got to make this co-op. You got to and you have to design your whole game around that. So I don't know that I'm that nervous about it, but I think it's another reason why I'm more excited about Gotham Knights, because even though there are 4 playable characters, they're pretty clear that you can only play with up to 2 players in that. So that just seems a little more, to your point, lonely and contained.
Yeah.
As opposed to Suicide Squad, which just seems more Avengers-like. And I just get Anthem vibes from Avengers. So I think there's no way Suicide Squad is going to sell anything less than awesome. But
that's contagious vibes almost.
Yeah, it is. It's exactly right. It really is. The Avengers comes out, I think, next week. So I'll be interested to see. I'm not going to play it, but I'll be interested to see what people think of it.
Yeah, it looks terrible.
Yeah, I don't know that it looks terrible, but it doesn't look good. I'll say that. It doesn't look good.
I think it looks terrible.
It's not getting great feedback from the betas or the quote unquote betas that they're doing for it. The stress test, really.
I don't know, man. When you have like a team of Avengers with a Verizon skin,
oof.
It's just like, there's a, oh my God, what are they called? There's a battle pass for every character.
Yeah, it's so funny you brought that up, because someone wrote in about that and I actually deleted it and put in something else. Yeah, that has rubbed some people the wrong way from what I've garnered from the internet.
Oh,
it's crazy, man. I don't know. I'm really interested to see how this game does, because I think it can go any way at this point. The Avengers is so big. Like I have 3 nephews that are like 8, 11, and 14, and the 2 younger ones, I just saw them today, actually. The 2 younger ones are like pretty amped up.
Oh yeah, it'll sell. I'm sure it'll sell a pretty decent chunk of copies, but that game's player count is gonna plummet. I'm really sure of it. It's not gonna Anthem plummet. Like it won't. Like it'll have like a consistent, maybe, like I would imagine maybe like probably like 30,000 maybe people
at max.
At max concurrent. Not on launch day. On launch day, it's obviously going to be like probably millions.
Right.
But like I would argue that probably like about like a month or 2 later, you're probably going to see like 30,000 max.
Yeah, we'll see how this all turns out. I'm actually most interested to see Square Enix as the publisher, because this is kind of not their place of expertise at all. They're not Activision or Ubisoft or anything like that. They've never really done a game like this. So, obviously they have like a game like Final Fantasy 14 and stuff, but I think it's different. I think that they're getting their feet wet into this, and it's a good IP to do it with, but you can tell why they really needed Crystal to take this game and do it. I just don't know that they were the right team for it, but we'll find out when it comes out. I think the review, I don't even know when the embargo is for it, which is not a good sign. Usually people see people talking about that, but we will find out soon enough, and I'm sure we'll talk about it here and hear from all of you out there. Dustin Gontcharoff wrote into us and said, "Hey, Colin and Chris, with the heavy RPG elements in Gotham Knights, enemy levels, substantial XP system, level scaling," which I fucking hate. I hate level scaling, etc. "Does this show the game developers are using RPG elements as crutches in designing action games? Instead of coming up with additional enemy designs, attack patterns, advanced AI, etc. to make fights more difficult and dynamic, are they just changing difficulty and adding content via arbitrary enemy and player levels? Other examples include Wolfenstein Youngblood and Assassin's Creed Odyssey." Youngblood's a great example of this.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I feel about this, because that's pretty attractive to me, but it has to be done right. I don't like level scaling. I've always hated it. I've always had a problem with it. And it always seemed to defeat the purpose of even having an experience system. Like, if you're going to scale with my strength, then why wouldn't you just keep everything static anyway? Because you're never really getting any stronger relative to what you're fighting. I remember encountering this, and I think it was like Lunar Silver Star Story or something on PlayStation 1, where I was totally confused, like leveling characters up, and then the enemies were just getting stronger. And it's like, then what is the point?
Don't you just level up to get like more abilities and like tools and stuff?
I suppose, yeah, money maybe to buy equipment or whatever. Yeah. So I really do feel like level scaling is both a poor design philosophy, but also a way to just avoid having to, I don't know, scale your game in such a way that it makes sense for everyone. It makes it a little more flexible. I understand that, but I don't know. That's the thing that bothers me a lot more than enemy levels and XP systems and stuff like that. But how do you feel about Gotham Knights using quote unquote RPG elements? Of course, noting your great point from seemingly eons ago that every game's an RPG at this point. Madden's a deep role-playing game at this point.
I mean, I think, I don't know, like there's some places where I think it really makes sense. There's some places where I think it fits really well. And there are some places where I think it's innovated on really, really poignantly and really, really it really fits. But Gotham Knights feels like one of those things where I'd have to play it to really know. Because it does kind of feel like it's being shoehorned into this game that previously really didn't need anything like this. I feel the same way about RPG systems in games that don't need them that I do about progression systems in multiplayer video games, where it's you used to play online competitive video games because the progression system was kind of baked into your skill at the game. It was okay, I have a rank and I'm trying to reach rank 50 or rank general or whatever the hell, and I have to be this good to reach that rank. I'm going to play this game over and over, and I'm going to get really good to get that rank, and just getting better at the game was kind of its own reward. And then at some point, games kind of started having this thing where it's here's a carrot on the stick. Oh, I'm going to jiggle some keys in front of you. Oh, here's a weapon that you can't unlock until you're level 15. And don't worry, you will hit level 15 as long as you keep playing. It's not difficult to hit. It just takes time.
Right.
And I feel similarly about this in a way where it's if you took the RPG leveling systems and mechanics out of Gotham Knights, would it be less fun? Because if so, that's a problem.
Yeah, that's a great point. I guess you would have to hope, to your point, that they've structured this around it.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that they did. I got to say, because I just played Arkham Asylum again for the first time since it came out for Knockback a few months ago on PS4. I played it. And I was alerted to the fact and reminded of the fact that the upgrade system in that game kind of sucks. There comes a point where I'm I don't even care about any of these upgrades. I don't care which one. I don't need any of these. Mm-hmm. And so that's my bigger problem is trying to just hone whatever upgrade system you have, whether it's really an experience system or an upgrade tree or a series of trees or whatever, just to make sure that it's deliberate and well designed and interesting, because I feel too few games really do this well. We talked about it actually in Ghost of Tsushima, where it was kind of in the middle of a game that does it well and a game that doesn't do it well. And I think of games like Dying Light and a few others that had really great systems of upgrades. So hopefully Gotham Knights has the latter. But again, this is all speculative because we really don't know anything about it. And it could be that they're making changes based on the feedback they're getting from the media and from YouTubers and all the rest. So, and maybe even this podcast.
Yeah, who knows?
Who knows? It's doubtful. Number 4. Last week, we briefly discussed Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, which was long rumored and then officially revealed in name only under co-development at Activision-owned studios Treyarch and Raven. Now we know more details about the game, which, if history is any indication, will be the best-selling game launched within a 12-month period. The game launches on November 13th on PlayStation 4 with a PlayStation 5 version promised for the holiday season. November 13th is a Friday, and it's entirely possible, if not likely, that November 13th is the date PlayStation 5 itself will launch, though that remains to be seen. The game's campaign takes place in the early 80s during the waning years of the Cold War and takes place in locales like Vietnam, Germany, Turkey, and more. Obviously, the game will be heavily buttressed by a whole new suite of multiplayer modes along with the return of Treyarch's signature mode, Zombies. Black Ops Cold War will be crossplay between all platforms, and there will be a post-release battle pass that will give players access to DLC, though there will also be a la carte availability. A beta will test out the game's multiplayer modes in the coming couple of months, beta in quotes, though details are light apart from the fact that those who pre-order the game will get first dibs. We now also know about the division of labor between Treyarch and Raven. Treyarch is in charge of the game's multiplayer modes, while Raven is in charge of the single-player campaign. And interestingly, that single-player campaign will include the ability to make your own male or female character, fill out a psychological profile, and make choices in the adventure itself that will have consequences. The pre-order and cross-gen situation is incredibly complex, though, and you can go read about it on the official FAQ for the game on Activision's website. The news of Black Ops Cold War isn't without controversy, however. Activision Blizzard, heavily engaged in the communist Chinese market and partially owned by Chinese interests, scrubbed a brief reference to Tiananmen Square from the trailer, the last notable pro-democracy movement in China, dating back to 1989. Did you see the trailer? What did you think?
Yeah, so it looks like another one.
Yeah, it sure does.
I said that on Twitter, and it was, people are excited. That's cool. Like, I get it, I guess. If you're really into this series and it's something else in that series, I totally get it. I just, I can't shake the feeling that every year I see the same fucking thing. Even if the premise is like slightly different or like the cinematics look slightly better, or like, wow, that's a really realistic hair physics. It still just boils down to a game that I inevitably play at some point and forget that I played.
Yeah, they are pretty generic, but I will say that there are a couple of things that I think are intriguing about this. The first thing is that Raven leading up the single player campaign, I think that's great news. Of course, Treyarch's last go with Call of Duty, people will remember, didn't even have a single player campaign. So Treyarch seems to be moving away from that. Raven is now filling that in. So it could be that this is a permanent tag team. We're going to find out between these two studios, which I think is really exciting. But the single player campaign sounds really cool. The early 80s is an awesome time for the Cold War. It's like when everything's kind of falling apart for the Russians. And I love this idea of not necessarily making your own character. I don't really care about that. That's kind of cool. But there are choices in the game. You make actual choices and it changes the game. And I think that that's so interesting for Call of Duty. That's very unusual. I don't know that it's going to be necessary. I don't know that it's going to play out well. I have just, as the audience knows, I just a few weeks ago played Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Remastered, the campaign, and I loved it. I was like, this is great. These games just feel, in my opinion, you and I differ on this greatly, but I feel like these are the quintessential shooters. Like they feel so good to play. And so I'm looking forward to seeing Raven's triumphant return to a single player campaign that at any event they're going to get credit for, which is nice. And I guess now we know why they're getting equal billing with Treyarch.
Yeah.
But I think the bigger controversy is around this trailer, and specifically, as I said, the Tiananmen Square stuff getting removed. Now, this is interesting, Chris, because the Tiananmen Square footage wasn't just removed from the Chinese version of the Call of Duty trailer, but from every version of the Call of Duty trailer. And Christian Turnbaugh wrote in and said, "What's up, C-Man? I hope you are all well. I wanted to get your guys' take on Activision and Treyarch removing footage of Tiananmen Square from the new Call of Duty trailer. Is it just me, or are both of you getting tired of this nonsense happening? Thanks for all you do." I'm concerned about this. I'm getting continually more concerned about this. Because you're seeing this in movies, you're seeing this in TV shows, and you're seeing this in games. And it's nothing new, obviously. I think that there was a famous thing not too long ago with Rise of Skywalker where they made the Finn character much less prominent on the poster in China than it is everywhere else for it. I guess under the assumption maybe that they didn't want a black character. I don't know if that was the reason. Maybe it was some sort of implied racism or whatever, but you just keep seeing things like this happening over and over again. And Activision seems to be with the gaming industry at the nexus of this over and over again, because of course they own Blizzard, who had a huge issue with this not too long ago. Are you troubled or puzzled by this? Because I just don't understand why Activision says, listen, we're not going to kowtow to you like this. It's like watching what the NBA did with the Hong Kong situation. They have all of this stuff to say about Black Lives Matter and all this, which is great. That's awesome. Use your platform. But why won't you speak up for this, but you won't speak against the Chinese communists that aren't even domestic to your product? Yeah. And it's all for money, and it's just so transparent. And I don't like it. I don't know that I have a problem with them saying, like, listen, we'll remove the Tiananmen Square stuff from the Chinese version of the trailer, but to do it to everyone's trailer, I think is so weird. And I'm just curious what you think about all that.
No, yeah, I think it's really creepy. I think it's really off-putting that they would have that much of a say in the way that the rest of the world sees this game. That's concerning.
Because with, I was just talking about Modern Warfare 2, Chris, and that game has arguably the most controversial scene in any Call of Duty game, which is no Russian. And there was controversy around that, and there is a warning before the regular game on PS3, and then there's another warning on the PS4 version saying that this was made in a different time, which is an interesting kind of quote, but they didn't get pushback from the Russian government, and they didn't remove it and all this stuff, and it just makes you wonder what is being removed before it's even put out there. You know what I mean? Because they're afraid.
Yeah. Well, I did read somewhat recently, I heard somewhere on a podcast with people involved. I can't remember what the hell I was listening to, but that no Russian mission didn't initially have the warning or the option to play it in. It was added in like pretty late. But yeah, I don't know. Like this, I think the thing that bothers me most about this is that it kind of shows a pretty huge, glaring, I would say, flaw in the way that capitalism would function in a world where more money could be made in communist places, where it's like, yeah, if you can make a lot of money in a place that, because there's so many people in China, it's insane. And the thought of like a company being like, oh, we can make a lot of money there as long as we just completely upend our own interests, just for the sake of the almighty dollar. I feel like this is kind of the problem that you run into eventually.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think it just opens up a barrel of hypocrisy, which is why I just don't think you should play these games at all. And the thing that I'm not Activision games, I mean, these trifling games. What's most interesting about this, Chris, and I don't think we have any information about this yet, and I don't think we ever probably will, but it's like, who is talking to who on these sides? Like, is Bobby Kotick on the phone with like some sort of emissary from the communist government or something? Or is it just happening out of fear and anticipation of having a problem? Because it's kind of surprising that in hindsight that the Tiananmen Square thing got through at all. Yeah. Because that is a really, people can read about it. Tiananmen Square was a thing that happened in 1989, like a student rebellion, basically. And the last notable mainland China uprising that has ever happened in the last 30 plus years. And you would think that it was just like, they would have seen that and been like, oh, we've had problems with this. This is a really controversial thing that happened in China. We probably should just remove this entirely. And so something fell apart in making this trailer. And I'd also be curious what people at Treyarch and Raven think, because Christian in his question says, what's your take on Activision and Treyarch removing footage? I wouldn't blame Treyarch for this. I don't know. I don't want to like just dispel their involvement in it, but they don't have any power. It's Activision that's removing this stuff, and that sucks. And it begs the question, should we be spending money on these guys' games? And the answer is, I don't know what the right thing is to do with this anymore. I don't know. But it's becoming more and more glaring, and Activision isn't the exclusive arbiter of this either. I think the NBA is the biggest thing that I can think of. Yeah. In this regard, it just doesn't even make any sense what the NBA is doing. So there's that. And then we got a question, a kind of a related one from Kramerica86, who wrote in and said, hey, CNC, isn't it a bit hypocritical for people to be upset about the influence Tencent has on games, and when companies bow to the knee to China, but then hype Black Myth? Not y'all, but other YouTubers are all on board with this game and studio. So we were talking about this game Black Myth last week. It's being made in mainland China. Black Myth Wukong is the name of the game. There's 13 minutes of footage up about it. We don't know when it's coming out. It's like an action RPG. I wouldn't put these things together, Kramerica, personally, because Black Myth is being made by a studio, and we should want Chinese games. Yeah. There's probably a ton of talent. There is a ton of talent there. And we've talked at great length on the show, Chris, about how PlayStation is actually doing more than anyone to break that talent out in some way and get it out to the West. Those games, they announced like 10 games last year that were going to be published on PlayStation 4 from China. So I don't think you can blame the everyday people in China for this. They're kind of under the same thumb as everyone else. You kind of have to blame the business interest. Now, if the Black Myth guys got in bed with Tencent or something, then maybe we can talk about that again. But just a game being made in China, I think that's the antithesis of bad. That's actually a good sign that maybe things are cooling or warming up, I guess you would want to say, a little bit. And so I hope that the excitement about Black Myth can be segmented away from what's happening with these publishers and these business interests, which I think is much more sinister. They're way different things. I was impressed with Black Myth. It looks awesome. And it does. Even just the creature designs and like the way that game uses depth of field and really, really minor things that are obviously inspired by things that we're familiar with, but also have like these really small, subtle differences that are just like, this looks like many other games that I've seen before, but it also really doesn't. And it looks really cool. And that's really neat that it's made in China, because that's more of a cultural exchange, because we are receiving something from a different country that we wouldn't have otherwise gotten. Whereas in the Call of Duty situation, another country is influencing what we are allowed to see.
That I think they're vastly different things, and they
I
have
would agree
vastly
with you.
different values.
I would totally agree with you. And I'll also say that we're used to playing games from all over the world. People play American games and Japanese games and European games and stuff. But yeah, like you said, Chinese games they're not unheard of, but they're just really uncommon, especially on console. Pretty much unheard of on console, actually. So yeah, it's something to be exciting about. So I just encourage you to let's wait and see what happens with this Black Myth game. And then if, Xi Jinping or whatever the fuck his name is publishing it himself, then we can worry about that later. But it doesn't seem like that game's going to be done anytime soon. So I don't think we're going to be talking about it much more in the coming couple of years. All right, next piece of news, Chris, number 5. The previously revealed music/rhythm Kingdom Hearts game called Melody of Memory officially has a release date. Originally announced in June, but without a release date, the game will come to PS4 on November 13th. Developed internally at Square Enix, which is also publishing the game, Kingdom Hearts Memory of Melody will become packing 140 songs from the RPG series, which began on PlayStation 2 back in 2002. There are also nearly 24 characters from various Kingdom Hearts games that you can play as. Are you excited, Chris?
Oh, I'm over the moon.
Yeah.
I'm over the moon about this.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to read this piece of news, but I felt like I should.
Yeah, no, it's relevant news.
And then number 6, a video game based on Cobra Kai, the modern-day Karate Kid spin-off TV show originally on YouTube Red, is coming out this fall. Indeed, it's coming fairly soon. Cobra Kai, the Karate Kid saga continues, will be on PlayStation 4 on October 27th. The Cobra Kai video game is fitting. It's a side-scrolling brawler in the spirit of Double Dragon and Final Fight, and will allow you to play co-op both locally and online. There are 8 playable characters, including, of course, Danny LaRusso and Johnny Lawrence, with Ralph Macchio and William Zabka taking the voice roles for their respective characters. IGN reports that the game will include a full 28 missions. Interestingly, it's unclear who is developing the game. I couldn't find this information, though we know who's publishing it, Game Mill Entertainment, the same publisher bringing the recently revealed G.I. Joe Operation Blackout to PS4 this fall as well. Cobra Kai, the TV show, premiered in 2018 and has 2 10-episode seasons, both on YouTube Red. The show's 3rd season, however, is set to migrate to Netflix in 2021, along with the first 2 seasons. It's based upon the famous Karate Kid movie series, which began in 1984. Do you have any love for Karate Kid?
You know what? I've never seen it.
That's shocking.
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
That is wild. You should watch it. It's a great film. It's a really great film.
I find like a lot of, I haven't seen a lot of movies that people might expect that I've seen. And I think a lot of it is just because like I get so antsy and I feel like even when I was like a kid, I was like, I feel like I'm wasting time like watching a movie. Like I have to be doing something.
Right.
And so like unless something was just on TV, which it would just get constantly interrupted by commercials anyway, or I was old enough to have gone to see it on my own, I missed a lot of big ones. Yeah,
that's shocking that you never saw Karate Kid, because it really is a great film, and especially the first one I think is so awesome. The third one leaves a lot to be desired, but this Cobra Kai show, do you know what it's about, the show?
I think it's about, I don't know. I knew at one point, but I totally forgot.
It's basically about like the bully but it's like a modern day. It's like, it's 2020 or 2018.
He's like grown up.
Yeah, he's like a grown up. Johnny Lawrence is like grown up, and Cobra Kai is like the dojo of the bad guys, the bad kids in the movies, and it's about how he takes over Cobra Kai basically. And it's supposed to be excellent. My brother Dagan is a huge fan of the Karate Kid series, and he's like in love with the show. He thinks it's awesome. So I think it's cool. Like we're kind of starting to get some licenses back in the mix. And it seems like this Game Mill Entertainment is at the center of it with G.I. Joe. And now the next week we hear about this Cobra Kai game. So I'm going to play this one, see what it's all about.
Yeah.
It looks pretty cool. It's like it's a brawler, but I think it's 2.5D. So it's not quite as pretty as it could be, but beggars can't be choosers. I actually have to send this link to my brother. I don't know if he's seen it. He probably hasn't.
Did you ever play the Scott Pilgrim game?
I did, and there's word that it's going to be relisted. Maybe It's a Ubisoft game.
That would be nice.
Yeah, Chris is referencing the Scott Pilgrim game. Came out in 2010.
Yeah.
I want to say the peculiar thing about that game, as I recall, was that it didn't have online multiplayer.
Yeah, you had to be at your friend's place,
right? Which was a little more acceptable when it came out, but at some point there was some sort of licensing snafu. Ubisoft was the publisher of the game, and it got pulled off of PS3 and Xbox 360. And I have it downloaded on my PS3, so I bought it, so I think I can always download it. But apparently it's going to be maybe put back because it was recently, I guess, some sort of anniversary for Scott Pilgrim, 10th anniversary, 15th anniversary, something like that. So, or maybe of the movie, 10th anniversary of the movie. That might be what it was. So we'll find out what the future for Scott Pilgrim holds. But it was a great game. I remember. And I've never actually, that's something I never saw. I never saw that movie.
Oh, yeah? Well,
yeah,
I guess
never saw.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. It's a good one, though. Edgar Wright, in general, just makes really good shit.
Number 7. Be interested to see what you think of this one. IO Interactive's Hitman 3 was just recently revealed, and now we already have a release date. It's coming to both PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 very early in 2021 on January 20th. And thankfully, unlike so many other games that are completely muddying the water with cross-gen upgrades, IO has made it clear if you buy the PS4 version, you can later upgrade to the PS5 version for free. It's that easy. Hitman 3 is an important game for IO Interactive because it'll be their first self-published title. You recall that IO was at one time fully owned by Square Enix, which controlled both the publisher and its IP. In 2017, Square Enix released IO and its coveted Hitman license, and Hitman 2, launched in 2018, was published by WB Interactive. This time, however, IO is going it alone. The Hitman series began back in 2000 with PC's Hitman codename 47, and it migrated to console with Hitman 2 Silent Assassin on PS2, GameCube, and Xbox in 2002. After several more Hitman games, the 2 Kane and Lynch games, and 2009's underrated Mini Ninjas, IO returned to Hitman and rebooted it in 2016 as an episodic game. I know you're a fan of this series, Chris. What do you think? Hitman 3, very soon, January 20th, not too far away. Free upgrade between consoles. What are you thinking about this one?
Yeah, I love it. January is such a good time to release a game because there's so little. I mean, that was part of the reason I think that was Resident Evil 2 came out in January, right? The new one. It's such a good time, man. It can't be overstated how good January actually could be if devs actually decided to pay attention to it. It's right after Christmas. All your relatives are gone. You know, it's good.
Like they left or they're dead.
I mean, hopefully they left. But I don't know. I don't know what people are doing nowadays. But
yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
Did you play the game? We've talked about it before, I think. But Mini Ninjas. Did you play that game?
I played the demo. I loved it. And I enjoyed it. But
it was great.
I didn't have money in 2009.
Yeah, I platinumed that game actually. It was. I really liked Mini Ninjas. I thought it was a really cute game. If people have never seen that one, go look up a trailer for it. It's very good, and it's a weird one for IO. It's unlike Hitman or Kane and Lynch in any way, shape, or form.
It doesn't look like anything they've ever made. But
it was cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed what I played of it. It's one of those things where it's like I was so poor that I was like I'm satisfied with the demo because I have to be.
Yeah, I totally understand. We've all been there.
But this, I'm excited about this in particular because it's probably the thing that's going to make me hook up PSVR because it has that VR exclusive mode in it where you could play it in VR.
Well, it's good that you're getting all around to that. I bought you your PSVR 2 years ago, so.
Well, you haven't played it either recently.
No, I certainly didn't. I wrapped your PSVR in paper towels, as you'll remember, as well, because I had no wrapping paper.
Wrapping paper is stupid anyway.
I know, I hate wrapping paper. It's dumb. My nephew had his communion this past weekend, and I didn't have any cash, so I didn't give him his present yet. And then I saw him today. He's 8 years old, and I just handed him a $100 bill, and I'm like, "You don't want a card? You don't care." He's like, yeah. Let's just cut to the chase. Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Number 8. September's free PlayStation Plus games have been revealed. As always, if you have an active PS Plus account, these 2 titles will be free for you to download and play. Be sure to add these games to your download list during the month, even if you don't intend on playing them, as you can always check them out later, so long as your account is active. Capcom's popular fighting game Street Fighter V is the first freebie. Street Fighter V is a PlayStation 4 console exclusive and first launched in early 2016. It's worth noting that there is a so-called Champion edition of the game, which came out earlier this year. This version of Street Fighter V appears to be the original vanilla copy. The other freebie is none other than PUBG, which was essentially the very first battle royale game of consequence in a long, very popular line of them. PUBG launched in 2017 from the eponymous PUBG Corporation, though it didn't bring the game to PlayStation 4 until late 2018. News of these fresh PS Plus goodies come on the back of word from PlayStation and developer Mediatonic that the incredibly popular game Fall Guys, which was one of August's PS Plus freebies, is officially the most downloaded free game on the service ever. A pretty impressive statistic for a service that has offered the likes of Rocket League, Call of Duty, and others. I always have a problem with that word eponymous. I always feel like I'm saying it wrong.
Yeah, because it's not a good sounding word.
No, it sounds ridiculous.
It also has pony in it, and I hate that.
Whoa, it does. I never even noticed that. I'm looking at it right now. Look at you. Very well done. So, Street Fighter V, PUBG, what do you think of that lineup?
Yeah, it's not bad, I guess. PUBG is kind of I don't like PUBG on PC where it's like designed for. So like I really doubt I would enjoy PUBG on a console, but Street Fighter V is not a bad game. I would be surprised if people hadn't bought it by now. It is kind of old.
Yeah, it's like 4 years old at this point.
Yeah, I feel like anybody who would have been interested in it probably would have bought it by now. But it's not a terrible lineup.
No, I don't hate it. I don't own either of these games, so I'll just add them to the down list and forget they exist.
Yeah.
As usual. Number 9. If you're looking for more video game related TV shows, you're in luck. Netflix has confirmed that it's working on a live action Resident Evil series. Word comes via a brief tweet from an official Netflix Twitter account, which released a picture of the first page of the first episode script called Welcome to New Raccoon City. The script was written by Andrew Dabb, an experienced writer of TV and graphic novels, including a ton of episodes of Supernatural. The pilot will be directed by Brownin Hughes, who directed several movies, including the well-liked children's movie Harriet the Spy from 1996, and lots of TV shows, including episodes of White Collar, Hawaii Five-0, 24, Better Call Saul, and The Walking Dead. The first season will consist of 8 episodes, and we don't know much else about it. The Resident Evil franchise, known as Biohazard in its native Japan, is the most famous and popular survival horror series in gaming history. Starting with 1996 original game and running through some 24 core games, spin-offs, and remakes, it's developed internally and published by Capcom. I don't know. I can't get into... I like Resident Evil, but I can't get excited about a live-action Resident Evil. And I heard... I feel like this comes up every month on the show, but that those, like, Mila Jovovich... what's her name? Jovovich?
Yeah, Mila Jovovich?
Jovovich?
Something.
I heard that those movies are, like, not terrible.
I hear that they're schlocky, ridiculous, and dumb, but they're kind of fun. It reminds me of like the way that people talk about it seems to be the way they talk about like Fast and Furious. You know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, where it's like got a little bit of camp, a little bit of it plays to the fans quite a bit because they've made a lot of these movies.
Yeah,
like these Resident Evil movies. So clearly people are watching them. But we'll find out. So just wanted to throw that out there. And then number 10 is a lengthy wrap up. So stay tuned. The official PlayStation blog reports that strange food-based game Nower is coming to PS5 at an unknown point in the future. And that puzzle game Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 comes to PS4 on December 8th and PS5 seemingly the same day. I love these PS5 releases, especially after November, where they can't say that it's coming out on December 5th or December 8th on PS5, even on PlayStation blog. Website Gamatsu reports that adventure game The Procession to Cavalry is coming to PS4 either later this year or early in 2021. The co-op game Bubble Bobble for Friends, The Baron is Back, is coming to PS4 this fall. That's an awesome name for a Bubble Bobble game. Let's see. That retro-inspired Space Invaders Forever is coming to PS4 later this year. It looks really good. That hack and slash game Until You Fall is coming to PSVR this autumn. That the self-explanatory Big Rumble Boxing Creed Champions is coming to PS4, in 2021. That a new Wonder Boy game called Asha in Monster World is PS4 bound in the near future. That comedic slasher Party Hard 2 is coming to PS4 on September 8th. That turn-based RPG King's Bounty 2 has been delayed and will now come to PS4 in March of 2021. That adventure game A Space for the Unbound has been delayed and will come to PS4 in late 2021. That action game Yumihara Kawasi Bazooka, which I know Chris is looking forward to, has been delayed and will now come to PS4 on October 30th. That roguelike game Sword of the Necromancer, already revealed for PS4, will now be coming to PS5 at an unknown date too. That RPG Zanzai is coming to PS4 and PS5 in 2022. That farming game Ova Magica is coming to PS4 and PS5 in 2022. That platformer Hyper Team Recon is coming to PS4 and PS5 in 2022. And that adventure game Lost at Sea is coming to PS5 at an undetermined point in the future. Website IGN reports that once delayed Crysis Remastered is coming to PlayStation 4 on September 18th. Website Push Square reports that mech game Override 2 Super Mech League is coming to PS4 and PS5 this December. Oops, I just clicked off of my thing there. There we go. That horror game Little Nightmares 2 is coming to both PS4 and PS5 on February 11th next year. The mysterious game Unknown 9 Awakening is coming to PS5 at an unknown point in time. That vampire-ridden game Wraith the Oblivion Afterlife is coming to PSVR in 2021. That racing game Hot Shot Racing is coming to PS4 on September 10th. That dancing game Just Dance 2021 will be a PS5 launch game. That indie game A Space for the Unbound is coming to PS4. Did I already read that one? I might have already read that one. Coming to PS4 in 2021. That interactive movie She Sees Red is coming to PS4 in October. That puzzler Lair of the Clockwork God is coming to PS4 at some point later this year. And that the long-awaited Yakuza Like a Dragon is coming to PS4 on November 13th. EA has revealed that its annualized NHL game this year called NHL 21 will launch on October 16th, only on PS4, as we talked about earlier in an episode. And finally, the final piece of Borderlands 3 DLC has been revealed. It's called Psycho Krieg and the Fantastic Flustercluck. and it will launch on September 10th. And there's one other piece of news that I didn't put in here. I'm just scrolling for it real quick to make sure I can find it. There it is. Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga has been pushed and will now be coming to PS4 and PS5 in the spring of 2021.
Okay.
So that's another piece of late-breaking news from Gamescom. So there's all of that. Now, Chris, it's time to get into the new game releases. Just the games that we know what they are that are coming out this week or recently. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered, Madden NFL 21, new Super Lucky's Tale, which I want to play, PGA Tour 2K21, which is substantial. It's the first PGA game in a while. Project Cars 3, Samurai Jack Battle Through Time, and The Last Campfire, which is Hello Games' game. The guys that did, why can't I think of it? No Man's Sky. But of course, Chris, tradition dictates that we make up what the rest of the games are. And tradition also dictates that you go first. So take it away.
Yeah. So for what do we got here? Alpha Set by Paugi comes to PS4 and PS Vita. This is, I guess, another one of them damn Paugi games that I still don't fully understand. What is Paugi? Is that just like a brand?
I think it's a brand. Yeah, I think they're just like they do like word puzzles and shit like that.
Yeah. So Alpha Set is a game that it's what could you even improvise about this? It's just two unrelated words.
Yeah, I don't know.
Alpha
I don't know
Set.
what to do about this one.
I'm actually curious.
You got it.
I'm curious.
Yeah, look it up. Cinders comes to PS4. So Cinders is this is pretty unusual, but it's a game about being a bricklayer. It's a game about being a mason. And you're laying cinder blocks, you're laying the little red blocks and clay blocks and bricks and all sorts of different things. And it's pretty crazy. It's a pretty interesting game, and it takes place in the contemporary times. And you are the bricklayer, you are the mason. So you get up in the morning, you get ready, you send the kids to school, you make your lunch and put it in your cooler, and you go to work and you build your wall, and you go home and your wife's yelling at you and you're cheating on your wife, and it gets pretty crazy. So Cinders is coming to PS4 this week.
How fun. So Alpha Set is it's literally just crosswords and Sudoku.
Oh, okay.
So
I feel like that's every one of their games. I feel like they're just releasing it over and over.
Yeah, probably. What's this? Sudoku with a new name?
I'll do it.
Death End Request 2 comes to PS4. This is about a man who has a strong will to live, which I can't relate to. But he is requesting an end to the concept of death, and so he delves into the ethereal plane to try and kill the Grim Reaper.
Interesting.
And the conflict is, of course, if you kill the Grim Reaper, then death still occurs.
Sounds horrible, that game.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
I want to play it.
Yeah. Comes to PS4.
Descenders comes to PS4. Now, this is a notable game in the real world because there was I don't know if you saw it, there's a viral video of these guys going around trying to find their game on PlayStation Network.
Yeah,
did you see this?
I did see it. It's insane. They wrote out, they go onto the PlayStation Store and they spell out Descenders, and it's the last result, even though nothing before it is Descenders.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I've been telling you guys, no one wants to listen to me though. But Descenders is a game about, as you would imagine, going from up to down. So do you remember when that guy was sponsored by Red Bull and he went into like the atmosphere in a balloon and then just jumped out of the balloon? That's what Descenders is basically about. So it's kind of like Pilot Wings in the sense of where it's not so much about the ascent, but about what you do once you're in the air and come back down. So it's a pretty easy game to wrap your mind around. And by the way, that Red Bull guy, I mean, that looked nuts. You can see like the full curvature of the earth. It's like dark.
It's scary.
Yeah, it was horrifying. It was awesome. I loved it. Descenders comes to PS4.
Feel bad for those guys. That sucks.
Yeah, it totally sucks, dude. It's awful.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell. I think it's like some mountain bike game, but like, I don't know, whatever the hell. Giraffe. What? Giraffe and Annika comes to PS4. What can one say about a girl and her giraffe and all the classic hometown, anytown USA kind of vibes and turbulations that you find yourself in with a godforsaken giraffe? That's what you're doing. You're a girl and a giraffe, and you're walking through the suburbs. That's it.
Wow.
Comes to PS4.
Giraffe and Annika. Hypnospace Outlaw comes to PS4. So in the near future, We're a space-traveling species, humanity is in space, and a hypnotist hypnotizes the wrong person. The person dies, and so the hypnotist is on the run, and he basically launches himself into space to get away from Earth in order to elude arrest. And it's about his life in space as he tries to get to the Martian colony, the newly founded Earthen Martian colony. That actually sounds pretty good.
That doesn't sound bad.
The game that I just made up there, yeah. Hypnospace Outlaw.
No Straight Roads comes to PS4. This is a game about a student driver who has to drive at the highest. His brakes break, and he can only accelerate, and he has to drive through all these roads, and all of them have ridiculous 90-degree turns and loop-de-loops, and if he messes up any of them, he'll fail and not be able to get his license for another week. And that's it.
That doesn't sound like that bad of a penalty for this young man.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a different time.
In this era, a week is a year. So,
yeah, exactly.
As we discussed earlier in the show. Kanagawa Jet Girls comes to PS4. I mean, who doesn't know what the Kanagawa Jet Girls are? The Kanagawa Jet Girls, of course, is a famous Japanese television show about 4 girls that race jet skis. And Kanagawa Jet Girls is basically the video game rendition of that. There are 24 courses, 8 playable characters, and you can play online. And you can also play locally with your friends if you want. And you can become yourself a Kanagawa Jet Girl on PS4.
Good. Outbreak, the New Nightmare comes to PS4. This is a game about zombies. Surprise, surprise. Are you scared? Are you scared of the little fleshy guys? The guys who will eat your nibble on your little ankles, but real slow like. So they're not really all that threatening, really. If they were put in any real situation, we'd probably be fine. You have to. It's standard zombie game. You beat up zombies. You can use a bat, maybe a bat with, dare I say, nails on it. You get a little bike, maybe. Maybe it's just Days Gone.
That really, you took me on a little journey there with that one. Holy shit.
That comes to PS4.
Ups and downs. All right. Party Panic comes to PS4. So Party Panic is about setting the place, your house, your apartment, whatever, your backyard for a party. You're having some family, you're having some friends over, but what you realize is that you don't have all the supplies you need. You're having it's a party panic. You're missing the hot dog buns. You don't have enough potato chips. Your stupid husband spilled all the beer in the garage. And so it's about how you have to get all of this stuff together and create. It's a real-time strategy game. And you're basically trying to almost like through the back door, get stuff into the house, get the stuff on the barbecue and all that. And your guests will not be any the wiser as to any of this is going on if you play Party Panic right. If you fail and people start to kind of get onto the fact that, hey, this party kind of sucks, the music is weak, the food sucks, whatever the case might be, then you lose Party Panic. So that's basically what it's about. It's something that I think a lot of us can identify about. It's always a grueling and nerve-wracking thing to put on a party. And so that's what Party Panic is about, coming to PS4.
Okay, good. Pocket Academy comes to PS4. This is a visual novel, sort of like Phoenix Wright, except you play as a teacher, and your goal in the game is to teach an all-girls academy about the existence of pockets and that they're actually useful and you can actually put things in them and not have to put things in a fucking bag all the time and get shit lost. And that's the whole game, is just you trying to get them to understand.
Instruct them.
Yeah.
On pockets. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Road Bustle comes to PS4. Road Bustle is just your normal everyday simulator trying to run some errands. And now I'm not a driver of motor vehicles, as everyone knows, but I've observed, I've been around for 35 years. I've observed that if you're going to Target, if you're going to Walmart, if you're going to the supermarket, Publix, let's say, or Kroger, then there's a little bit of a bustle going on the roads. And it's just about how you're trying to get from point A to point B. Do you have enough gas? Maybe you want to stop at Wawa and get a sandwich. You got to pick the kids up at the pool. Yeah. You got to go drop the dry cleaning off. There's a lot of bustle and hustle going on here in the Road Bustle on PS4.
Street Power Soccer comes to PS4. This is pretty straightforward. This is a soccer game, but the catch is you're all incredibly strong and you're playing in the street. So you have street hazards to contend with. You have dogs running amok. You have cars trying to come through. People getting their mail, and it's really gory. Like these kicks go like these balls are flying at like 200 miles an hour. So like there's if you hit somebody getting their mail, they're gone, and
Wow.
that's a penalty. Did you hear that?
Yeah, that was Street Power Soccer.
Yeah,
that was one of the cars coming by.
A bunch of burly men on their way to play Street Power Soccer. There are cars around here that I swear to God are like the size of thimbles that are louder than SUVs, and I don't understand it.
Yes.
It's just baffling.
It is. It truly is.
Anyway, that's on PS4.
Table tennis comes to PS4. Believe it or not, this is a hockey game. Now, what's interesting about table tennis on PS4 is that they have to kind of get it in under the radar because of the EA's relationship with the National Hockey League. But so they've aptly named this game table tennis. But when you get past the start screen and you get past the splash screen and all that, what you'll find is a pretty robust hockey simulation game. And I think this can give the EA NHL series running for 30 plus years a run for its money. And we might actually get a proper name for the game in the future if they can just be brave enough to do that. So that's table tennis on PS4.
Yeah, Theme Park Simulator comes out on PS4, and believe it or not, it has nothing to do with simulating a theme park. It's actually a first-person shooter about a man going back in time to prevent global warming because it's just too damn hot. That's it. It comes to PS4.
That's good stuff. All right, those are all the games, Chris. Any recommendations from not the games we made up, but any of the stuff above here? Madden.
I don't know.
Comes out. There's nothing really here.
I haven't heard anything about. The only thing I'm really familiar with is Samurai Jack, and I haven't really heard anything about it. I do feel bad for those Descenders guys, so at least check that one out. It looks like a dirt bike kind of thing. Like it looks like maybe like a Trials type deal. If you ever played Trials?
Yeah,
something like that. But but I don't know. Series? Like I don't. I guess Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles is something that people like.
Yeah, that was a GameCube game,
yes.
And so that's happening. Madden will be big.
I hear people are kind of bummed out about Project Cars 3.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything about that, so that's interesting. This Samurai Jack game, to your point, Battle Through Time, I think was just announced like a few weeks ago. So
yeah,
it's already out. And The Last Campfire, like I said, is the Hello Games game. I don't think it's going to be like their next full project, but it seems like something maybe worth taking a look at. The new Super Lucky's Tale is the game that it's supposed to be a pretty collectathon-y platformer. I have a place for those kinds of games like once or twice a year. So maybe I'll check that out as well, but we'll see what happens. But that, excuse me, that's everything that's coming out. And of course, Kandakawa Jet Girls as well. All right, Chris, as tradition dictates, we end every episode of Sacred Symbols with 6 questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, and ideas from the audience over at Patreon, patreon.com/ColinsLastStand. Any inquiries that we felt would make sense on this show, but we couldn't fit in during the regular run of show. And we'll start with Ben Williams, who says, "Hey, Fat, what are your thoughts on the PS5 focus on 3D audio? It was one of the focuses of the recent advertisement, the one we talked about last week, and I have found it to be absolutely game-changing, pun intended, when I use it with first-party games on my PlayStation Platinum headset. Do either of you have experience with 3D audio, and could it be as big of a selling point as Sony seems to think?" I don't know that I've ever experienced 3D audio, to be honest with you. That said, and I think we said this, Chris, when they announced this 3D audio gimmick, it seems cool, like they're trying to find something new, but I don't know that I focus very much on audio generally in video games, so I don't know how much of a game changer it's going to be for me. Are you looking forward to this?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't really play video games with headphones, is kind of the thing. So, like, I'm wondering if I'd even really be able to get the breadth of the experience unless I do that, because if so, then it's just going to completely fly by me. I don't know exactly what 3D audio is. I feel like I would have to be sat in a room and listen to something, and somebody would have to tell me, like, oh, this is 3D audio, so I could pay attention to what's different about it, as opposed to like just normal surround sound or you know, just the way that a game would normally play sounds in a 3D environment. I do know that Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice used audio quite heavily, and that was a game that you needed to play with headphones to really get the full experience of, and that struck me as 3D audio, like, because it was very, very, you know, I think they used like binaural microphones and like all this different stuff to really get the 3D audio sound. But if that's true and 3D audio already exists, I don't know what this could really mean as a new thing for PlayStation if it's something that I've already kind of experienced on current gen hardware. So it's kind of confusing me, all this hype, because I totally get it, because Hellblade was amazing. It was an amazing experience, but also it's not new then if I've experienced it, right?
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, to your point, I don't play with headphones very often at all. I don't know how 3D audio comes through a normal, not a 5.1 surround sound setup or whatever, but just like your TV's audio. I don't know how it would work. So maybe it does work in some way. I don't know how that would be, but it's not something that I'm terribly excited about. But maybe it's one of those seeing is believing things. That's the way I felt about VR until I played it. So, or hearing is believing, I guess you would want to say with this. So we'll find out, I guess, soon enough, Ben Williams. Thank you for writing in. And thank you, of course, for the Hey Fat reference. We always love a good Joe Biden joke on this show. Adam Opat wrote in and said, hello, Stone Cold Colin and DDP Chris. Ebert or Roper, I forget which one, once said that instead of remaking successful movies, they would rather see remakes of movies that had interesting premises, but that just didn't connect for any reason. My question, as you can guess, is simple. What was a bad video game you would love to see get remade, and who would you want to do it? Thanks, and keeping my Fridays always filled with frolics. Ooh, you're welcome, Adam Opat. This is a great one. I remember vaguely hearing people talk about this, about the idea of remaking bad movies. Yeah. Why are we remaking good movies? And that's an interesting idea, because there are a lot of novel ideas that are not well executed in video games. And the one that comes to mind for me, and I hate to be so redundant because we just talked about this last week, is Naughty Bear. I still think that that's a really great idea for a game. I just think it's so sinister and creepy and funny. Yeah. And we don't get enough. There's not enough funny games. I think there are funny games, but when I think about games that really made me laugh, they're pretty rare, and they're actually incredibly rare. When you think about a game like the South Park games, for instance, were like awesome from that perspective. And so I would love a game that made me laugh like that. And something I think like Naughty Bear just executed a little bit better would have been awesome. Now, who could do it? I don't know who would even be capable of making that game. I think a lot of people could. But that's what came to mind for me. Does anything come to... Well, first of all, do you like this notion of remaking bad games? Yeah. And if so, what comes to mind for you?
Not even bad games, but games that were just sort of okay. Like I think a lot of middle market stuff from like 2007 to like 2013. I feel like a lot of those games were really cool in premise, but just didn't really work. I feel like even like a series like Mercenaries could be done really, really well, or like you said, comedy games. Like I think the premise behind Eat Lead is hilarious. Like the premise of like this 80s action hero, and he's like a video game star, and he has to make the jump to 3D, but he can't because his designers suck. I think that's awesome. Like that's that could really be hilarious. Or like I don't know who could do those things necessarily. I feel like theoretically, like these things could kind of be done by a lot of studios as long as they just like are competent. But you know, even something like, as much as I really like Destroy All Humans, and I like that it was remade, and I enjoy it, and I've had a blast nostalgic as far as nostalgia goes. I feel like that premise deserves more than a remake, like an exact remake of something that came out in 2005. I think the premise of it is really strong, and I feel like Insomniac could have made an amazing Destroy All Humans game if they had that license, or if they had that opportunity. I feel like it would have been out fucking standing. But that's kind of the things that come to my mind. Not even games that suck, but like games that just didn't hit, even though there was something special about them.
Shout out for bringing out Mercenaries, by the way. That was the old Pandemic series. Pandemic, of course, was owned by EA, and they don't exist anymore. And people would know, I think, Pandemic probably most for Destroy All Humans, like you said, and the Saboteur.
Battlefront.
And Battlefront, of course, the original Battlefront games. And so it's interesting. I'm reading right now. So there are only two Mercenaries games. The first one, 2005, Playground of Destruction, and then World of Flames in 2008. But here, it says here on Wikipedia, Mercenaries 3's website was renewed earlier this year.
What?
So EA still owns, obviously, the IP.
Huh.
So maybe that will come back. And of course, Behavior Interactive, which was known as Artificial Mind and Movement at the time, is the developer behind Naughty Bear. So I don't know that they're necessarily capable of making this game, but we will find out. They're kind of more in the iOS realm these days.
Yeah, that's a different realm entirely. But yeah, no, I Mercenaries is the premise of, hey, it's Grand Theft Auto, but you could destroy everything. Like, come on, that's so cool.
Yeah, I think so too. It reminds you a little bit of Red Faction.
Yeah, no, totally. That's another one that I think could have really been done really well.
Yeah, they tried to make Red Faction relevant for a while. Remember they released like some sort of like vehicular racing game or something.
Yeah, that was weird. And then they had Armageddon, right? Was the last one, the last real one?
Yeah, that was the one that was on PS3. That was probably 8-9 years ago now. So THQ was the original publisher of those games. And I think now THQ Nordic owns that stuff, not surprisingly so.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen the end of Red Faction. I would actually argue that that's probably one of their most valuable IP.
Yeah, no, I think so too. But I really do think like the late 2000s have some of the best like middle market titles that would be totally rife for or totally open for genuine, dissection.
All right, let's see here, Chris. Kazden Risk wrote in. He says, "Hey, Captain Colin and Iron Chris. This week, Marvel is partnering with Fortnite for a Marvel-themed battle pass that will include Thor, Galactus, and according to leaks, other Marvel heroes such as Wolverine, Storm, etc. As a Marvel fan, I'm very excited to play as these characters and unlock all of the new gear, but I think the timing is very weird. Marvel's Avengers game launches next week and is also a service game with a challenge pass and unlockable costumes and gear. It seems like these games would normally compete with one another, and as a Marvel fan, I'm going to have a hard time deciding which one to dedicate my time to. What do you think of Marvel games deciding to partner with Fortnite during the week of their big game launch?" This is an interesting one to me because I don't know if it's a conspiracy or not. Mm-hmm. It could be, Chris, that Marvel is doing this to generate just some sort of conversation about their stuff that might segue to the Avengers. The conspiracy theorist in me says that they're trying to remove attention from the Avengers, which doesn't really make any sense. So Occam's razor suggests that this just is a happenstance. But do you think this is weird or is this not much ado about nothing?
I think it is just a random happenstance. I think Marvel is kind of just traditionally a little bit more hands off with the games industry than they are with really anything else. I really feel like they're not really paying that much attention. It feels like, oh yeah, we got an Avengers game coming out. Let's run an Avengers promotion in Fortnite because it's the biggest game, and we could just get some people, some word of mouth going, and then maybe some people will be like, I wonder if there's an Avengers game, and then like, oh, well, look, bam, there's an Avengers game. It probably didn't really. I doubt the conversation really went further than that. It seems like just a random happenstance that is also just sort of vaguely layered with an attempt to market. But I don't think they're trying to distract from it.
Yeah, it really is probably just a happenstance. Although we do bust balls a lot about the one hand not knowing what the other hand's doing at Sony and other places. So we should level the same criticism at Marvel, because you would think that at the very least you'd want to spread that stuff out.
Yeah, no, it's definitely dumb. But I don't know. I just am so convinced that game's not going to be good that I can't even I can't even begin to care about it.
Yeah, I can't either. I was just busting my nephew's balls today about they love Fortnite. And I'm like, I think I said something. I'm like, why don't you play a real game? All right.
Why do you play Felseal Arbiter's Mark, you idiot?
I know, dummy. Joshua Meyer wrote in and said, "Hey, Big Daddy Colin and little sister Chris." That's funny to think about. "I have been looking through all my games lately and have noticed a sizable hole in content, specifically games about the Civil War. I've always been fascinated with it, and I've read several history books pertaining to the war. So my question is, why isn't anyone making a game about it? I have envisioned a first-person shooter where you are an officer and you command your regiments to attack certain locations. I'm really curious about your take on this moment in history, as you are a fellow history buff. Thank you both for helping me drown out my kids' noise for a couple hours a week." You're welcome, Joshua. Although they're probably more intelligible than we are. So it's something important to keep in mind. So, Chris, I don't know if you remember this. I actually have to look up the name of it.
I know what you're talking about. There's like a time travel FPS, right?
There is one of those. I don't know if it might be the same game. There's a History Channel published Civil War game
Day
on
of
PS.
Defeat?
Yeah, A Nation Divided. This was on PS2, Xbox 360, and PC. It came out in 2006. And I remember this. Oh yeah, Activision published it, and it was a History Channel game. And that was, and so it had Civil War battles like Shiloh and Antietam, Petersburg, and all that. So that's what came to mind for me. But I think the big thing about this, and because he says he envisions a first-person shooter, it would be pretty hard to have a compelling first-person shooter when you have one shot every 30 to 45 seconds. So,
yeah.
And I'm not even saying that like a facetious way to make fun of him. I'm just like, I think that's what's holding you back from getting something meaningful in this era.
I would agree. I think just gun combat in general just wouldn't. You would have to stretch out. You know, Ghost of Tsushima has a similar thing where it's like, oh yeah, you know, these weapons aren't from the time period, but they're in there because it's more fun. And I guess one could argue like, why not do the same thing? You know, for the Civil War. But I feel like if you're gonna do a Civil War game, like, and you're gonna just take World War II weapons or World War I weapons, even, you got to wonder what the purpose even is.
I agree. I think that there's a lot of exciting stuff that can happen in the American Civil War, including first-person games. You can be like a spy or whatever. Like, I don't know, but it seems like this kind of stuff is best served on PC in the simulation space.
Yeah, like strategy or something.
Right, exactly. The mouse and keyboard space. I just have a hard time envisioning what you would do in a more conventional way with the Civil War. I think a really exciting thing would be a turn-based like strategy role-playing game or something like that. That kind of stuff would be fucking awesome. And I love alternate history stuff like you're talking about. I think that would be real, like Harry Turtledove's type shit is really cool. Melding of generations and weapons that shouldn't be there. Kind of like the Order 1886. That was a big thing there too, where things existed that shouldn't have existed yet.
Oh yeah,
that was the whole. I mean, obviously things existed that don't exist, like wolfmen in the Order 1886. But like they had, for instance, like they had like Zeppelins, but Zeppelins didn't exist in the 1880s.
Yeah, it's just cool meldings of history. But I would argue, for a first-person shooter that like one of the biggest stars of a first-person shooter are the weapons that you hold, because they're the thing that's in front of you for like the overwhelming majority of the time. It's what separates a game like, you know, a futuristic game like a Halo game or like even like a Doom game from a game about like Battlefield 4, which is like a Modern Warfare type game, or like a World War II game that has weapons that are obviously older. So like I don't know if you could really get away with an FPS during the Civil War that had World War II weapons, because I think it would be just immediately confusing almost to the players to what the hell's going on, or when is this?
Right. What story are we telling?
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. I would love more Civil War content, but it doesn't exist on console. That's just there was that game on the NES called North and South. That was like a console Civil War game. But again, that was a strategy game too. I don't know any. How about like a side-scrolling action game would be pretty funny.
What was that weird FPS? I'm having like flashback memories of this weird like middle market FPS from like, oh my God, 2008 to like 2010, where like you went back in time or something. Oh my God. It wasn't Day of Defeat. It was, oh my God.
Oh, are you talking about the World War II game? That where like the first stage is New York City is getting bombed by the Nazis or something?
What?
Like
I don't know. I have no. Oh my God. This is
I
gonna
think
bother
I might
me
know what you're
for
talking
a long
about.
time.
Well, see if you can find it, and we can always put it in here or talk about it next week. I'm sure someone will write in.
Yeah, please.
About it.
I'm vividly remembering like World War II style graphics with like an orange portal or something.
Yeah, this does sound familiar. What is that? Well, someone will write in about it.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
please, someone, please.
Charles Clausen wrote in and said, hello, CNC. I don't have any weird pizza eating habits or crazy shower routines, so I'll get right into it. Why aren't people pumped for Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning? To this day, I believe it is the best combat in an action RPG I have ever experienced, to the point Bethesda should have been ashamed with Skyrim and rethought everything they did going forward. It comes out in about a week and I'm still seeing so little about it. Yeah, I was thinking about this recently too, specifically on if I'm going to play it immediately. I think I'll play it at some point because I really liked Kingdoms of Amalur a lot. But the game came out in 2012. It was a long time ago, 8+ years ago, because it was early 2012. And so I think it's a game that people have forgotten about, and I think a lot more people never knew about to begin with.
Yeah.
And I'm not seeing anything about it from the publisher. So it's not like they're like trying to really push this thing. So I think that people aren't talking about it, and I think that is a mistake because I do believe it is a great action RPG. I think the thing about Amalur was it was surprising how good it was. I would even go as far as to say it was surprising how excellent it was. I remember getting it early and being shocked at IGN. I was like, this game's fucking great. Like, and not a huge surprise. 38 Studios had a lot of talent. And to say what you will about Kurt Schilling, but he knows video games. And so for him to be able to direct the energies of the studio towards a game like that is not a huge surprise. But are you going to check this one out? I know you didn't play it the first time through. Is this a game you want to pick up in its re-reckoning format? It comes with all the DLC and some, I guess, expanded features.
Yeah, maybe. I think the premise of like a deep RPG kind of stresses me out right now. Because I really am at that point where I'm just sort of looking for like straightforward experiences. But I wouldn't be opposed. I have to see it. Like I really have no idea what Kingdoms of Amalur even looks like.
It's a pretty nerdy high fantasy game, saturated colors. Oh, elves and forests and all that kind of shit. It's pretty literal in that sense, but I thought it was great. I am interested to see. I don't even remember what it really looks like in terms of, like, to your point, I remember the aesthetic, but I don't remember if it was like a graphically impressive game at all. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. And I'd like to pick it up. It'll probably be pretty cheap, pretty quick. So I'll wait on that for a little while. I don't think it's full price immediately anyway. So we will see how it does. But I'm excited about Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning. Charles Clausen, thank you for writing in. Finally, Jared Kellogg of the Kellogg Fortune says, hello, you two. Can we just take a moment to talk about Starfield? It was clearly announced 2 years ago to cover up Bethesda Game Studios' other lackluster announcements like a mobile Elder Scrolls game and a multiplayer Fallout. But it's been in development for about 5 years now at least, with them saying pre-production has lasted since before Skyrim.
That's such an absurd thing to say.
I know, it's 9 years ago.
Yeah, there's no way that's true. What they mean by that is probably like, hey,
someone had an idea.
Yeah, like, hey, I have this idea, and they had it in like 2010 or something. And they didn't jump on it until like super recently. There's no way. Pre-production for that is such a bad thing to say to hype up your game. Is that like, oh, it's been in pre-production for 4 high school or for 2 high school graduations. Like what?
Well, really, 8 high school graduations.
Well, like 4 generations through high school.
I understand what you mean, but someone's gonna be an asshole. So
yeah,
might as well be me. Todd Howard is always talking about how much he'd like to close the gap from announcement to release, and I just have to wonder, would Bethesda even considering announcing a fall release date for this? Chances are slim, but I can't help but ponder if it even though COVID likely hurt the game's development like it did many others. Either way, the fact that anyone decided it would be a good idea to announce 2 Bethesda Game Studios titles at least 2 to 7 years in advance is just pathetic. Thanks for going deep on the importance of good trash placement in a home, and God bless. Oh, you're very welcome. That was also another controversy I don't choose to get into anymore. I choose not to run. All right.
It's like 8 Seinfeld references.
I was just going to say the same thing. We've referenced Seinfeld constantly. All right. So I don't think Starfield's going to get announced this fall, Jared. I think that's wishful thinking. I think the big thing that we have to wonder now is if Starfield is current gen at all.
Definitely not.
Yeah, I would hope not. That would really suck. If they were taking all this time. That might be what it was, is that they might have just decided to boost the game from one console and bring it to the next gen. And I also imagine that they might be having problems with their really archaic engine that needs to be remade. So there could be multiple things about it, but it doesn't excuse the fact that I agree with Jared. They did announce those games to cover up Fallout 76.
Yeah.
And to cover up Elder Scrolls Blades and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's obvious, and I think that was a huge mistake. I think the Elder Scrolls 6 thing was a massive mistake because I really think that we're not going to... I think there could conceivably be 10 years between when that game was announced and when it comes out. Straight up. That would mean the game came out in 2028. Starfield is being made by the team that's making Elder Scrolls 6, so one has to come before the other. They said one will come before the other. Assume Starfield is coming out in 2021. That puts you at a 2025 release for Elder Scrolls 6, maybe?
I'm betting 22.
Oh, for Starfield? Yeah, I mean, that would be...
I think they might have intended for 21, but I feel like everything that's going on now is probably screwing with them. They might have even intended something for this year, but I don't think so.
You would have to assume that might have been in the cards originally, right? Like, why would you announce that game in 2018?
Exactly for the reason you said, to cover up for Blades.
Yeah, but...
And 76.
Yeah, I definitely think that was true, and you're right. But still, the intention must have been like, yeah, we'll be done in 2020, but I don't know. I just don't. I'm curious about Starfield, not because I'm very excited to play it, because I'm really not very excited to play it. Just because I don't think Fallout 4 was especially great. And I tried twice to play that game, and I just feel so old playing this. It just doesn't feel right.
Like, I liked it, but it was still very much like just fine. And I feel like the Fallout aesthetic and just like the lore and the charm of like that universe really did a lot of the heavy lifting for me when I was playing it. And the fact that, and I think Elder Scrolls has a similar thing where it's like Elder Scrolls could potentially be really archaic and broken and still just like kind of look kind of nice with the next gen tech. And I feel like a lot of people will like it simply because it's Elder Scrolls and it takes place in that universe and it's got all the same quirks that people kind of identify with those games. But Starfield doesn't have like an existing fan base that's particularly enthralled with the lore. It doesn't have an existing charm that it can fall back on for nostalgic purposes. It's just this new thing that's just going to feel like an archaic old game. I mean, assuming that they don't change the engine, which I'm assuming they won't, because why would they do it now when they haven't for so long? I don't know.
They got to do something. I don't know, man. That's what I guess what I'm saying is that Starfield, I'm just morbidly intrigued by the game because I just want to see if it looks like a Bethesda game.
Yeah.
I'm just really, I want to see what it looks like. And I don't know what they're thinking, but we'll probably won't see it until next year. And then when it comes out is a whole nother fiasco in and of itself. Because I was wondering, I'm like, are we going to see Starfield at the Sony event or something, or at a Microsoft event? I was kind of wondering that. Not that it would come out this year, but just to show it off. And I don't know. And who knows what Bethesda's plans might have been for E3 and stuff as well. So, because they had to have had something to show. And when you really think about their studios, it's been a little bit devoid of interest lately. I mean, you have Arcane doing their thing, and you obviously have Machine Games doing stuff, and others. Tango's making their game, but I don't know. I think Bethesda's in a little bit of a decline right now. I'm not saying it's a tailspin, but they need to do something quick in the next couple of years, I think. Both Bethesda as a publisher and Bethesda Game Studios. Although they do have games that are still doing very well for them, so I'm not trying to act like they're going out of business or something. All right. That's all we have for this lengthy episode of Sacred Symbols.
Indeed.
PlayStation Podcast. Chris, thank you for joining me today.
Of course.
Appreciate your time. Thank you all out there for joining us and for your love, kindness, and support. If you listen to us on free feeds, do consider leaving us a nice review on iTunes, etc. It helps us find a new audience and tell your friends and family. Of course, if you can follow us and support us on Patreon at patreon.com/ColinsLastStand, that helps pay our bills and pay for Chris's cocaine habit and other things that are going on, other illicit affairs that are happening behind the scenes. But we really appreciate your support, your love, your kindness. We'll see you next week for more Sacred Symbols. Until then, goodbye.
Take care, guys.
Sacred Symbols, a PlayStation podcast, is a product of and a registered trademark of Colin's Last Stand, LLC, and is recorded from Richmond, Virginia, and Burbank, California, USA. This show is conceived by, is written by, and is produced by me, Colin Moriarty. My co-host is Chris Raygun. You can find me on Twitter at NoTaxation and on Instagram at CLS Moriarty. Chris is on Twitter at Chris R. Gunn and on Instagram at Chris_Ray_Gun. Sacred Symbols is edited by Dustin Furman. To message the show online, please use Patreon's DM service. As you know, all of Colin's Last Stand shows, including Sacred Symbols, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/ColinsLastStand. The following names are at the producer level or higher on Patreon, and we are eternally grateful for your kindness, generosity, and fandom. Jariah King, Nick DeMarco, Constantine Valencia, Avery Lewandowski, An Unofficial Controller Podcast, Bjorn Campbell, Andrew Morgan, Gregory Slavinsky, Stephen Nieder, Ross Maranka, Zach Parsley, Jerome Ferreira, John, Jeremy Shook, Miguel A. Brewer, Morgan Ashley, Ben, Azan, Isaac Wasterman, Michael Vecchio, Joey Finelli, SL the FMA, Ryan T. Mandel, Jorge Palomino, Paul Joyce, Enrique Perez, Don Lee, Daniel D'Amore, Brad Cooley, Jeremy Key, Patrick Leslie, P. Homeworld Hub, Dante Harris, Betty Ann Moriarty, Gavin, Colin Jewell, Nelson LeBlanc, Daniel Johnson, Zach Bonham, Jay Getter, Vexius, Greg Lotta, Jeff Mercado, Galja, Todd Paxton, Darren Gardner, Of Fortuna, Boots, Megadet, Kevin Komaki, Saul Balcazar, Raul Melendez, Robbie Hensley, Bloody Fang, Eric Harden, Matt Martin, Rodney Coleman, Chris Moore, Spencer Brand, TB Lightning, Antti Kinnunen, Taylor Barkley, Chris Galvin, Ryan Murdoch, Jesse Owen, Mason Cadillac, Scott Lovelace, Chris Buston, George Anthony Nunez, Kyle Hagel, Colin Love, Daryl E. Naiman, Ryan Arkitrage, Michael Daniel S., Joshua Smallwood, Damon Weathers, Cody Bradbury, Carl Tolman, Richter86, Barrett Boswell, Andrew Parker, Christopher DeVio, Donnie Nolan, Patrick Harper, Gerald Pennington, Greg Juliffs, Blake Israel, Sean Mason, Josh Gravelick, Brian Chan, Connor Gashian, Lawrence F. Prokop, Organic Produce, Toothless Gibbon, James Kinslow III, Tyler Bello, Mubarak, Alan Tremblay, McDog18, Richard Hebert III, Miranda Grubber, Marius Scarsom Peterson, Ray Leja, David Castanez, Throw7, Josh Yeager, Martin Beck, Nathan R., Joe McPartland, Gamer Filmaholic, Colin Davenport, Eric Finkenbeiner, Lou and Ray Loper, Josh Bushing, Dylan Burns, John Schultz, David Chestnut, Anton K., Corey Wyatt, Tony Zaniga, Sean Battershall, Alex Cabrera, Lennon Brixey, Hugo's Desk, Peter Reynolds, William O'Carroll, Phil Crone, Mike Wayne, Adam Nix, Josh McKinney, Michael Gates, Alex Gates, Sean Chandler, Petro Rose, Gio Corsi, Justin Wagaman, Chad Lewis, Shane Rayum, John Cordero, Mark Boggio, Keith A. Lewis, Tyler Harris, Matthew Purdue, Toby Shootman, Eric Bateman, Mad Mock Media, and Jonathan Rice.